Alright, we are rolling. Just gonna wait for a couple of people to join. Alrighty. Right now we're gonna wait for some more people to join the stream, and that is when we will officially get started. I know the stream was pretty much long overdue, but hey, I finally found the right time, and here we are. And I see we're already starting off with 4 people, from what it looks like. What's up, Leaperton? I love you too. Gonna wait for at least 7 or so people to join, and then we'll get this party started. Yeah, because, for the stream, I want a good amount of people watching this, you know what I mean? So right now, I'm just about to advertise this on Instagram. Can't wait to hear about this mid-ass redesign. Well, that is true. I mean, but if I'm gonna be completely real here, some of the stuff here is actually pretty good. But you're about to good connection. Hold on, my thing's bugging out for a minute. Actually, never mind. Right now, I'm just advertising it on Instagram right now. What's up, Zach? And then, just gonna wait for like 2 more minutes, and then we'll officially get this started. Like, around 8:05, 8:06, we'll get this party started. I know I don't want to hold you guys any longer, because look, I know it's a school night, and I don't want to take away too much time from y'all. But yeah. Okay, I was not expecting the stream to get up to 10 people, which is good. Alright, it is 8:05. Now it's time to officially get the stream started and what you guys came here for. So first off, this is pretty much my first ever live stream of 2025. I had a feeling that me doing a live stream about the Queen's Bus redesign would be a first live would be a good first live stream for to start off 2025. Even though we're already almost 2 weeks into 2025, but hey. So as you can see over here, we're gonna be talking about the final plan for the Queen's Bus Network redesign, and basically about the Queen's Bus Network redesign for those who are watching the stream who have absolutely no idea what this is. Basically, the Queen's Bus Network redesign is this huge network where the MTA wants to redesign a lot of bus routes in Queens to, improve service on them, have better routing, and more reliability and that kind of stuff. And because of this, they had, community meetings. They had feedback from the community to help form some draft proposals and that kind of stuff for all their routes, as you can see here. But I'm not going to read all of this. And over here is the project benefits. I don't want to read too much of this because, I don't want to bore you guys away. But I know all of you are here to, see what's the deal with all the routes and all that kind of stuff. But yeah. Now we're going to move on to what you guys really came here for. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to review each and every single route change one at a time. I know that may sound like a lot of time, but hey, just bear with me. So here's just a bunch of this stuff, which I know you guys can read all this on your own time. I'm obviously not going to read this on stream, but I'll just scroll through it anyways, so you guys know what it looks like and what you can expect. Oh, and this over here, this may not seem important to some of you. Well, I mean, it may sound important for those who live in Queens, and if your routes are affected, you could go to one of these events. If you see any location marks indicated in blue, it's gonna be in person. But if it's indicated in red, it's online, where you have to join a Zoom call for that. Oh, so this over here, I want to quickly point out, because the MTA has a mandate of fiscal responsibility. Each change to their bus network has been extensively considered from a bus fleet and budgetary perspective, requiring challenging decisions. Therefore, the MTA cannot implement some popular proposals with this project due to resource constraints. However, the MTA will continue to investigate the following proposals for possible future implementation. Noting service alternatives. So this over here were some proposals that were made in previous redesigns, and I think in this redesign as well, that the community really liked. Like over here, the Q44 select bus service extension to Fordham Plaza. Now, in my opinion, the Q44 being extended up to Fordham Plaza would be a lot of chaos, in my opinion, because for those who have ridden the Q44 before, you would know that the Q44 suffers through a lot of traffic when traveling between Queens and the Bronx.
I don't understand what you meant by that question.
Oh my god, sorry about that. The stupid Alexa thing. But anyways, like I was saying, the Q44 does suffer through some pretty bad traffic, especially in the Jamaica area, the Flushing area, and even when traveling along the Whitestone Bridge on the Hutchinson Parkway to get to the Bronx Zoo. It's already bad, but it's gonna get even worse with this extension to Fordham Plaza. You know what I mean? But luckily, we have the BX9 for that reason, where you can transfer to the BX9 right outside the Bronx Zoo. Now this one was another really well liked proposal. Yeah, I know, the Alexa. But it's a good thing I muted it, so that way, in case she accidentally thinks that I said her name when I really didn't, she's muted. I hate when that thing does that. If you have an Alexa, you would know how it feels. But anyways, enough talk on that. So for the Q51 extension to Gateway Center Mall, basically as part of the redesign, the Q51 is a new proposed bus route which would operate on the entire length of Linden Boulevard within the Queens section, between Springfield Boulevard up to Rockaway Boulevard, and it would serve Brooklyn over here at Gateway Mall, which is where the Q8 makes its first and last stop at. But if there's one thing I like, at least they're not touching the Q8, because in previous redesigns they actually extended the Q8 to New Lots Avenue, and in my opinion, the Q8 does not need to go to New Lots Avenue. And I'm glad they're keeping the Q8 as is. But but service improvements are a must need. And here's another popular proposal which was unfortunately withdrawn. And that being the Q52 Select Bus Service extension to Far Rockaway. Because, Zach, I know you're watching this stream right now, and I know how much you really wanted this. But unfortunately, it's not going to happen. But, it can be done with a transfer for the Q22 or the A train, but knowing the Q22 and the A train, they're not really that reliable, especially with the A train. And especially with the fact that, the A train is going to be shutting down starting January 19th, and it will be shut down till May of this year because, parts of the A train, will be shut down because of very well needed renovations, and, part of the line was, suspended because it was badly damaged by Hurricane Sandy back in 2012. I actually don't know when the Q52 was proposed to go to Far Rockaway. Now here's another proposal which and if I have to be brutally honest here, I was not really a big fan of this proposal. And that being the Q78, which would operate along Bell Boulevard and Springfield Boulevards. Basically, this route would operate the entire length of Springfield Boulevard. It would operate from Springfield Gardens, like, the area where the JFK bus depot is, and it will go all the way up to, what's that place called? All the way up to that one shopping center up in Bay Terrace, going along Bell Boulevard. But honestly, now, in my opinion, I don't think we need a bus route that literally serves the entire length of Springfield Boulevard, because, hey, you already have routes like, the Q13 and Q31, which already serve Bell Boulevard, and the Q27, which serves Springfield Boulevard, between 48th Avenue and Francis Lewis Boulevard, and the Q77, which serves Springfield Boulevard south of Francis Lewis Boulevard. So yeah, there's really no need for this huge long route operating along Springfield Boulevard and Bell Boulevards. You know what I mean? And lastly, we have the Q103 extension through the Queens Midtown Tunnel. Basically, the Q103 would be extended to this one park in Long Island City. And basically, I'm gonna show you where exactly that is. It's a good thing I double checked my Google Maps before, doing this, because, I don't want any of my personal information being leaked, But basically, so this over here is the Q103's first and last stop over here in Hunters Point. And basically, if you see my red mouse over here, this is where they would have had that proposal to extend the Q103. Like, right where, the Pepsi Cola, the Coca-Cola Park thing is. Somewhere over here. But, yeah. Alright, enough talk on this. But here's some new routes. Here are the new routes that, will be added as part of the redesign. And those routes being the Q74 Limited. Well, the Q74 is coming back, but I mean, not the original Q74, because that Q74 I'm thinking of got cut during the 2010 budget cuts. But it's kind of like the old one, but not really, if you get what I mean. Here I have the Q80 Limited, that I'll get into later. The Q89, which is another variant of a route that already exists, Q85, but I'll get into that later. And no, this is not referring to the old Q89 that got discontinued back in the 2010, also for the budget cuts. And we have the Q90 Limited. And this route is pretty interesting to me, and I'll explain why once we get there. And over here we have some existing routes are restored, like the Q100 Limited is being restored. I mean, the Q100 Limited obviously still exists, but in previous redesigns they decided to cut it and replace it with some other route, which would still go from Long Island City to Rikers Island, but except it would go via 31st Avenue, 31st Street, I meant, which is the same exact street that the Q102 uses. And honestly, in my opinion, that was pretty stupid, but I'm glad they brought back the Q100 Limited. And they're also bringing back the Q113 Limited. Like I said, this route was not discontinued previously. It still exists today, but in the previous redesigns, they cut it. And as you can see here, the plan also withdraws some proposals, including the Q62 and Q105 due to public feedback. The MTA will continue to work on the proposed Q68 and the Brooklyn Bus Network redesign. And this one route, in my opinion, is a pretty cool route, but I don't think we'll even get to talk about that during this live stream, in my opinion. But yeah, here we have express routes, you know, all this kind of stuff, whatever. Changes outside of Queens, blah, 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 blah. Here's some routes going to Brooklyn. Oh, hello, Matthew Hernandez. You didn't miss much. You just made it just in time. Oh, we have 14 viewers. That's nice. So these are all the proposed routes that are going to Brooklyn. Here are the ones going to Manhattan. And here's the ones going to the Bronx. And that kind of stuff. And these are also all the proposed routes that are going to Nassau County. But there's one route that's missing from this list. And I'll get into that once we get there. But here's all this. Oh. Now this is the moment which y'all have been waiting for. We're up to the route profiles. And starting off would be none other than the Q1. And over here, the Q1 is becoming a limited route along Hillside Avenue, and it's going to serve between Belrose and Jamaica. So here's the map. As you can see over here, in the black dotted line, all Q1 service to Queens Village Long Island Railroad Station has been discontinued, and this service here along Jamaica Avenue. Now, the Q1 didn't really operate along Jamaica Avenue, but it didn't really make any stops along Jamaica Avenue, I should have said. But the reason why this is covered in the black dotted lines is because there's overnight trips that operate to Jamaica from Belrose, and they serve Queens Village. And as you can see over here, the Q1 will no longer serve Jamaica 165th Street bus terminal, and will instead be extended to the Jamaica Long Island Railroad Station, just like basically following the Q43. And in my opinion, this service change is not that bad per se. But as you can see over here, they're improving service on the Q1, and I'm not gonna lie, this was badly needed because I'm gonna be real here. The Q1 is a pretty, I wouldn't say terrible route, but it was an okay route. It's an okay route right now. But with these service changes, it's bound to get even better, and I'm definitely looking forward to this. And yeah, they're reducing stops, but you know, we're not gonna go through the list of every single stops. But you can view that on your own. I'll send a link for the PDF file in the description, in the chat, so that way you guys can view it on your own at a later time. So here's the next route, which is the Q2, and this is going to be a rush route. And as you can see here on the map, now this is something we have not seen before. And as you can see here, part of the route's map has these white lines on it. This indicates that this is a rush section route, meaning that it makes no stops at all. Q27 is my route. Oh, whoa. There's a bit of service changes with the Q27, but we'll get there as we're going to do each of these routes one at a time, review them one at a time. But yeah, as you can see here, the Q2 will maintain its existing routing, blah, 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 blah. And all local service for the Q2 will be replaced by the Q3. So that's good. So, it's as you can see here, the Q1, Q3, and Q76 will all provide local service along Hillside Avenue, which is a good thing. I'm not complaining about the Q2, honestly. Now, before we get into the other routes, if there's one thing I will say, I have ridden each and every single Queens bus route, local, limited, and SPS, not all express yet, but one day I would like to ride all of the express routes from Queens. But that's going to take a while, and, it's going to be a bit expensive to do so, But enough talk about my life stories. I know they may sound pretty boring to you, but honestly, what they did with the Q2, I personally like it, especially, if people are trying to go to UBS Arena for events or whatever, like, sports games like hockey, concerts, I don't know, to see Taylor Swift or something. I don't actually know if she's coming to UBS Arena anytime soon. I just made that up. But I definitely approve of the Q2. Next up, we have the Q3, which is the Farmers Boulevard route, which serves between Jamaica and John F. Kennedy International Airport. And as you can see here, it's a local route. Now, with the Q3, oh, and by the way, over here, service at JFK Airport's subject to change with Port Authority redevelopment. And as some of you guys probably already know, JFK Airport is going through some major renovations, such as Terminal 5, and they're also adding Terminal 6, if I'm not mistaken. And because of this, this is causing a bunch of route changes within the airport for, bus routes, shuttle routes, and all that kind of stuff. But, it's a good thing that they're renovating JFK Airport. Just like the same thing that they did with LaGuardia Airport, because of those renovations, LaGuardia Airport went from being one of the worst airports to becoming one of the best airports. But enough talk. I don't want to get too much carried away. I do apologize. But over here, if there's one thing I like about the Q3, at least they're expanding service on the Q3. Even though it may not look like much, but hey, this helps. Because there was times where I remember I was riding the Q3, and there was a time where this one Q3, I don't think it showed up at all. And then I had to wait for the next Q3, and that showed up. But yeah, I'm glad that, the MTA is finally realizing how bad the service is on the Q3 at times. Because I know there can be a lot of traffic along Farmers Boulevard. And of course, Hillside Avenue. And like I said, I've ridden every single local bus route in Queens before, and the Q3 is definitely one of them. And my experience with the Q3 was honestly a bit of hell, if I have to be real here. Is the final plan of the Queens bus network redesign going to still include the Q98 bus? Well, we'll have to see. I used to live by the Q27 on Bell Boulevard. It's a scenic route. It goes through the suburbs of Queens Village, Bayside, East Flushing. Yeah, I used to live by the Q27 as well. It's one of my favorite routes to this day. Man, I know the whole route very well, off the top of my head. Well, I know most of these routes off the top of my head. But there's some service changes for the Q27, and we'll get into that when we get there. Next up, we have the Q4, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty disappointed with the Q4. And you'll soon understand why in a few seconds. So the Q4 is gonna become a rush route now. So as you can see here, it's not gonna make a lot of stops on Merrick Boulevard now. And they removed this section over here. This was where the Q4 Limited used to run. And as you can see here, it's going to operate from, just like how it normally would, from Jamaica to Cambria Heights. But honestly, this is not enough. What do I mean by that? Because in previous redesigns, there was proposals to where they would extend the Q4 into Elmont. And it's a good thing that I have the old redesign up here. This is from March 29, 2022, because this one does have it. Let me try to find it. It may take a brief second. Okay, here it is. Oh my god, I hate when this thing does this. Because, you know, when you try to... Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. So over here, as you can see here, they extended the Q4 into Elmont, and they extended it further down Linden Boulevard to where it would serve Elmont Road and Stewart Avenue over here. And basically this area over here, this is where the N1 route serves. I can speak on this because, you know, I live in Long Island, and I've also ridden every single Nice Bus route. And if I have to be completely real here, the Q4 being extended to Elmont, it would be a game changer for a lot of people living out here in Elmont, because say if you rode the N1 but you want to take the Q4, walking there would be 7 to 10 minutes. I've done that walk before, and it's pretty long. Like, especially if you're, you know, a senior citizen or you're disabled, and you want to go to Jamaica from this part of Elmont, you can't really do that unless you would have to wait in the morning for the N1 to go to Jamaica. But, you know, that's not enough. But hopefully the MTA does reconsider extending the Q4 into Elmont, because that would be a game changer for many. But if there's also one thing I don't like, is that they're unfortunately reducing service, which that is not good at all. Q27 is good frequency. Bro, the Q27 runs literally every 90 seconds. I mean, based on personal experience. So here's the Q5. It's going to become a full-time limited route now. It's no longer going to be it's no longer going to be both local and limited at the same time. It's going to be fully limited now. And there was a bit of a major route change. So as you can see, it'll provide all-day frequent service along Merritt Boulevard between Jamaica and Laurelton. And as you can see here, it will no longer serve Green Acres Mall and Rosedale on the weekdays, and also weekends as well. And the service has been replaced by these routes that we'll talk about in a minute. And this is what the new Q5 looks like. But if there's one thing I don't like about the Q5, I mean, I guess it's a good thing, because the Q5 is getting reduced service, but at the same time, if you really think about it, the new routes that are replacing the Q5 that are going to either Rosedale or Green Acres, it will be replacing that existing service for the Q5. So, if this does get approved, and you rely or live by the Q5, it will no longer serve either Green Acres Mall or Rosedale, and it will end in Laurelton along 231st Street, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that should be. Yeah, 233rd Street. It's gonna end at American 233rd Street from now on for all 7 days of the week. And yeah, if you need bus service to Green Acres Mall or Rosedale, you can take the Q86 to get to Rosedale, and you can take the Q87 to get to Green Acres. So that is that. Here's the Q6, and it's going to be a full-time limited. But the Q6, not much has been changed. But if there's one thing I don't like about the Q6, is that they're reducing a bit of service for the Q6 during the evenings and late nights. And honestly, I don't like this because the Q6 has a lot of issues with service, like, you know, especially during the night. Now they're just making service for the Q6 at night even worse. Because I remember there was a time, like 3 years ago or so, I rode the Q6. I rode it down to South Jamaica, and there was a time where I had to wait 30 minutes. You might think to yourself, oh, that's not bad, but the problem is, it was mad brick outside. It was like -5 degrees. I was waiting like down here. But if there's one thing I like what they did with the Q6. They're not changing it. Because I remember there was a stupid proposal that they made with the Q6 back in 2022. And I'm going to show you guys that right now. Oh, it's actually up here. Please don't tell me I have to... Okay. Okay, at least they didn't do the stupid thing again. I swear, if they reduce bus service on the Q30, a bus every 20 minutes. Honestly, I hope they didn't. I mean, I forgot about a lot of stuff. But anyways, so basically this is what they did with the Q6. So they basically merged it with the Q1. And honestly, This was honestly one of the worst decisions that they ever did when making that redesign back in 2022. And the Q6 does not serve this part of the JFK cargo area anymore. And now it basically replaced this part of the Q7 service along 150th Street for the Q7 to get to this part of the JFK cargo area, which literally no one goes to. So I don't even know why they even bothered putting service back there. But yeah, that's that for the Q6. Now, speak of the Q7. Here's the Q7. And if there's one thing I do like what they did with the Q7, it's finally going to run 24 hours. About time this route runs 24 hours, cause honestly, for a busy street like Rockaway Boulevard, I've seriously questioned how the hell is there not a bus route that runs 24 hours that literally serves the entire length of Rockaway Boulevard. I mean, I know you have the Q10 that serves Rockaway Boulevard and that runs 24/7, but like the entire length of Rockaway Boulevard, like come on. But finally, the Q7 finally has 24-hour service. But the only downside is, I mean, this part is not really a downside because the Q7 won't really serve this main area anymore at the JFK cargo area. It was pretty useless. Hardly anyone even got on the bus in this section. I've been in this section before and no one got on. But at least, it'll still serve Rockaway Boulevard, of course. But the only thing is, it's no longer going to serve it's no longer going to go to East New York Euclid Avenue Station for the A and C lines, which is the last stop for the C train. And instead, this whole segment will be replaced by the Q112, which we're going to get to later. But if there's one thing I like, is that they actually extended the Q7 further up north along Rockaway Boulevard. Well, further up west along Rockaway Boulevard, I should say. And now it's going to make its last stop at 75th Street Station for the J and Z trains. And I'm not going to lie, this area could have a potential, not going to lie. Now here we have the Q8, which we were talking about earlier. So the Q8 is mostly going to stay the same. At least some service was improved on the Q8, because I'm not going to lie, the Q8 badly needed some service improvements. But the only thing, one suggestion I have is that I think the Q8 should run 24 hours, don't you think? I don't know. I'm not really sure about, the Q8 running 24 hours. But at least, the Q8 is not going to be touched entirely. Euclid Avenue A and C's is also known for the last ever the Q8 bus there. Well, yeah, because during the mornings and evenings, there are some Q8 trips that short turn and start at Euclid Avenue Station. I've been on those trips before. But as you can see here, bus stops and routing in Brooklyn are subject to change with the Brooklyn Bus Network. So this may not be permanent, I would say, just yet. Because the Brooklyn Bus Network redesign is still going on, and they're bound to make another proposal soon, which hopefully they do. Because there were some pretty bad proposals there in the Brooklyn redesign. I'm not going to obviously get into more detail into that because, this is mostly about Queens. But if there's one thing that I really didn't like about that redesign, is that they split the B103 Limited in half. And honestly, I did not like that. Do you also remember the Q27 using LFS buses from Jamaica Depot? Yes, yeah, I remembered that one time. I wonder if the next ones will make it to the Queens Bus redesign. Well, I don't know. Will the next ones make it for the Queens Bus redesign? Only time will tell. But, it's currently, obviously the date is currently unknown, when the redesign is officially going to go into effect. Now here I have the Q9, which is going to become a rush route. So it will maintain its existing routing, as you can see here, but except it's going to have rush sections, which I mean, I'm not going to lie, if I have to be real here, does the Q9 really even need rush service, along Jamaica Avenue, Sutphin, and Liberty? Because, the Q9 is just a residential route, But if there's one thing I don't like, is that there was a really good extension for the Q9 that they did in previous redesigns, and they removed it. What do I think about Queenslink? I don't know, and I'm not going to talk about that because, I don't want to get too carried away, like I said. And the extension I'm talking about for the Q9 would be over here. This is from 2022. This is where they proposed to extend the Q9 down to the last stop for the Q37. Basically, it would go along, 130th Street. And I think in this proposal over here, let me try if I can find it. Oh god, this stupid thing keeps lagging out on me. Okay, so yeah, over here in these two proposals, they decided to extend the Q9 down to the last stop for the Q37 in South Ozone Park. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually really like this proposal. So that way, the Q9 people riding the Q9 that need to get to the Q37, they can now easily do that since they can take the bus directly there instead of having to walk down 130th or 131st Streets. But I hope they consider bringing that back, along with the Q4 to Elmont, because I really like that proposal. Now here we have the Q10, but as you can see here, what they did with the Q10, in my opinion, is a bit weird. For one thing, they reduced service on the Q10, and it's gonna all make sense later on. As you can see here, big reduced changes for the Q10, because over here, so the Q10 is apparently gonna be a rush route now, and it's gonna make all limited stops along Lefferts Boulevard, but the catch is, once it reaches Rockaway Boulevard, but once it reaches Linden Boulevard, it's going to make all local stops going via the local route, along Rockaway Boulevard, 130th Street, this part of the airport, and the routing for the Q10 Limited, which, goes all the way down Lefferts, that's going to be replaced by a new route called the Q80. As you can see here. They could just take the Q9 to the last stop to Rockaway Boulevard, 128th Street for the Q. Or take the Q7 to 111th. I mean, yeah, but the thing is, have them more direct, you know what I mean? Now, as for the Q11, I'm not gonna lie. What they did with the Q11, I actually like it. So basically what they did is, they combined the Q11 with the Q21, so that way, it could be more frequent. And as you can see here, all this added service here, this was one service that used to be done by the Q21. But if there's one thing I'm really happy about, I'm glad that they're not, fully cutting the Q21, because in my opinion, the Q21 was pretty useless. It was mostly the Q41 that carried, this part over here. So as you can see here, the Q11 is no longer going to serve this area over here. It's no longer going to serve the Aqueduct Racetrack and North Conduit Avenue stations along the A train. So if you live within this area, Old Howard Beach and Hamilton Beach, you will now have to take the Q11 to get to Howard Beach JFK Airport. Or you can go to Rockaway Boulevard to get the A train from there. But yeah, the Q11 is going to serve Lindenwood now, which, in my opinion, is going to feel pretty weird. Instead of, the Q11 serving these streets over here, I know the residents for sure that live in this area are pretty pissed that they're going to lose all their bus service. But hopefully, they think of something. Maybe have another Q11 variant that serves this area. But, only, during rush hours, because I think that would be fair enough, in my opinion. Now, as for the Q12, so the Q12 is getting a reroute, and honestly, I really do like this reroute. But the only downside is, they're reducing late PM service. They're reducing bus service during the late nights. But I mean, it's not too bad. It's only a 1 to 2 minute difference, so who cares? So this is the reroute I'm talking about. So they're now gonna reroute the Q12 so that way it could serve Northern Boulevard the entire length, between Union Street all the way up to its last stop in Little Neck. And in my opinion, it makes sense because the Q12 is literally carries the entirety of Northern Boulevard. I mean, I know the Q13 does as well, but it only does it from Union Street all the way up to Bell Boulevard. But as of right now, the Q12, as you can see in the black dotted lines, the Q12 goes via Sanford to get to Northern Boulevard. The N20G also takes this route as well. But with the Q12, now it's gonna, serve the entirety of Northern Boulevard, which I like. I'm gonna read. Why not extend the Q12 to Jackson Heights and make it an SPS route? Okay, in my opinion, that is a definite no. Because, I mean, like, why extend the Q12 to Jackson Heights when you literally have the 7 train for that? Like, you can literally take the Q12 over to the 7 train to get to Jackson Heights from there. Not to be confused with Union Street in Brooklyn. I actually had no idea that there was a Union Street in Brooklyn. I mean, hey, I'm not from Brooklyn, and I don't go to Brooklyn like that. But hey. Oh boy, I'm gonna need some water after doing all this talking, so please excuse me. So over here is the Q13, and it's gonna become a rush route. And the added service hours over here for the Q13. So the Q13 is mostly going to stay the same routing wise, but, well, not really, I should have said. So, as you can see here, they swapped the Q12 and Q13. So the Q13 once used to serve this part of Northern Boulevard, now it's being replaced by the Q12. And now the Q13 is going to operate via Sanford Avenue, and it's going to take that to get to Northern Boulevard. But you might be thinking to yourself, it's going to be much more slower now, and I can't blame you if you think that, because over here, knowing this area in Flushing, over here, along Bound Street, Roosevelt Avenue, Sanford Avenue, and basically this whole entire area where my whole mouse is circling. Actually, I think it's better if I show it here on Google Maps, because these maps aren't really that efficient, it's better to have this. Yeah, and it's actually a good thing that I showed it here, because, for all my people who are not from Queens and don't really know the streets of Queens that well, here you go. Because knowing these areas over here, well, I mean, the traffic's not bad now because, it's 8:43 p.m. and, everyone's almost home. But usually in this area, it would be red over here. As you can see, it's red over here. But usually in this area, it would be right over here because a lot of traffic in this area. I do ride the N20G a lot to get to Flushing. But, I know how it's like, even on an MTA bus. But I do approve of the swap between the Q12 and Q13. And I especially like the fact that the Q13 is basically becoming a limited route along Northern Boulevard. And I'm not going to lie, I actually like this. I think it makes sense in my opinion. For Northern Boulevard, within East Queens to actually have, a limited variant. I mean, even though it's a rush route, but, you get what I mean. And here's the Q14. Now, this is an entirely new route over here. Now, I know that there was a Q14 that did exist before, but that was cut in 2010 due to the budget cuts back in June of 2010. So, as you can see here, here's a little summary. The new Q14 will combine the Astoria Boulevard and Roosevelt Avenue segment of the existing Q23 with the northern half of the existing Q38 to improve north-south connections between East Elmhurst and Ridgewood. And I'm not going to lie, in my opinion, it's not that bad. This proposal is not that bad. And honestly, I'm glad that, a new bus route replaced this entire section over here, because this section over here, between here, 43rd Avenue over here, up to Astoria Boulevard, this entire section used to be served by the Q23. Well, I mean, it still serves it to this day. But bro, this is where the Q23 had really bad traffic. And it also had another pretty bad area of traffic too, but I'll discuss about that once we get there. But I'm glad that it's being taken care of by another route, the Q14. And as you can see, it's basically being part of the Q23 is being merged with half of the Q38, which honestly is good. And as you can see here, it's going to be extended down Forest Avenue, this is where part of the Q39 operates in, by the way. And it's going to make its last stop at Forest Avenue Station for the M train. And if you really think about it, this basically closes the gap between the M train, because you know how the M train makes its first stop in Queens, and it travels through Manhattan and Brooklyn just to go back to Queens, which will be over here at the Metropolitan Avenue Station here in Middle Village. So basically, this Q14 route basically closes the gap for the Q3, basically closes the gap for the M train. And honestly, I can see this route getting a bunch of use, not gonna lie. And this service pattern, it doesn't look too bad. Now here's the Q15, and oh boy. Q15. Oh boy. But before I get to this, why not extend the Q14 to Flushing at rush hours as an alternative route for the Q58? Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Do we really need the Q14 to be extended to Flushing? I mean, it literally stops at 103rd Street Corona Plaza for the 7 train. And dude, like 90% of, well, I don't know about 90%, but a good majority of Q23 riders that I've seen all get off here at 103rd Street so they can transfer over to 7 to get to either Flushing or Jackson Heights or wherever else along the 7 line. Anyways, back to the Q15. So the Q15 is going to have a bit of service changes, but if there's one thing, there's going to be no more Q15A. The Q15A variant is done. So as you can see here in the dotted black lines, I'm sorry, not red, black line. This is where the original Q15 served, which it still does to this day. But the thing is, the Q15 will now officially go further up 150th Street, and will serve 10th Avenue, and will take that way to get to Beakhurst. And in my opinion, I think it's good. Well, I mean, it is good in my opinion because over here, give this thing a moment. Now, in my opinion, I think that was a pretty good move to have the Q15 go further up on 150th Street and then go on to 10th Avenue from there, because as you can see here, over here is a big shopping, well, not really big shopping lot, but pretty important shopping area. Like you got healthcare, you got a pharmacy, you got a plaza, and you even got a pizza place over here. Now I know the original Q15 does serve this area, but there's a lot of senior citizens that live in this area of Queens that heavily rely on the Q15 and Q15A. So say if you're living over here and you wanted to go over here, some of you probably might be like, oh, why can't they just walk? It's not that long. Like, dude, they're senior citizens. They can't even afford to walk that long. But yeah, this is a good proposal for the Q15. I do like it. But even though the only thing I don't like... Where is it? The only thing I don't like about the Q15 on what they're doing is they're not only reducing the service hour. They only reduce service hours by only 5 minutes. Affording to walk is crazy. I mean, senior citizens, they can't walk for that long of a distance, But anyways, they only reduced service hours on the weekdays by only 5 minutes. And yeah, they reduced a bunch of service on the Q15. But hey, there's a good reason for it, because this part of the Q15 will be replaced by the Q61, which we'll get into later, of course. Next up, we have the Q16. Now, there's a bit of a major change with the route, as you probably saw down there. But before we get there, they're reducing service on the Q16. That is not good. So as you can see over here, the Q16 will no longer serve Francis Lewis Boulevard and will now serve Utopia Parkway full time. So for all my riders who ride the Q16 to and from Francis Lewis Boulevard, unfortunately, you will no longer have that one-seat ride from Flushing to this part of Francis Lewis Boulevard. You will now have to transfer over to the Q76 or do something which I suggest, walk. Like, if you're not physical, like, you know, if you're not fit enough, I don't even know what to do. I'm not even trying to shame anyone, but like, alright, let me not get controversial here. Sorry about that. How about the walking? But it's a bummer that this part of Lewis Point Boulevard is not going to have bus service no more. That's a shame. Moving on, we have the Q17. And if there's one thing I like, for all my Q17 riders, your route is not getting changed at all. I'm glad that they're not changing the Q17 because I remember there was a stupid proposal that they made a few years ago, like 3 years ago, about the Q17. Matter of fact, let me show it to you right now. Is it this one? Oh no, this is from 2020. No, this one's from 2019. We're not talking about that one. Yo, I hated that proposal of the Q11. I'm glad they didn't do that. But yeah, I'll send links to all this. Oh yeah, they did propose this as well for the Q14. As you can see, they tweaked it a little bit, but I don't want to get too carried away. Yeah, that is not good. But with Q17, what the hell is this? like as you can see here, they extended the Q17 up to College Point, completely replacing the Q25. This whole section of the Q25. But the only problem is, they cut the Q17 to Fresh Meadows. And it no longer serves Jamaica. Like basically the Q17 is completely useless now. Because you're no longer going to have that. Because, like, this would hurt people on 188th Street the most. Because I see that a lot of people on 188th Street, you know, they heavily rely on the Q17, of course. And, you know, they all write it down to Jamaica and Flushing. But if they were going to Flushing, this route would not be a problem. But if they're going to Jamaica, yeah, it's not looking that good. But I'm glad they withdrew that and, you know, they kept this. And I really hope that they don't touch the Q17 again. Because it does not need to be touched at all whatsoever. Now here we have the Q18. Now, they're reducing a bit of service hours for the Q18, but they reduced service hours by 20 minutes. So it's gonna end earlier. Q8. But now, as part of the old redesign, they wanted to make the Q18 more straight, or basically, you know, over here, 50th Avenue and 53rd Avenue. Yeah, I did, John. 50th Avenue and 53rd Avenue. These are some really tight streets. And honestly, I'm surprised that a route like the Q18 can even manage going through those tight streets. Because here, let me show you. Once the thing loads. Oh yeah, we'll get to the Q19. But I want to show the viewers this. So this over here is 50th Avenue. I don't even know if the damn thing will even let me view the street. So this here is 50th Avenue. Wait, what direction am I? Oh, right, I forgot these things don't say. But as you can see here, this is 50th Avenue. Pretty tight street. See what I mean? Now the Q40, which is another route we'll be looking at later, it also goes through these kind of tight streets over here. You're next to my old house. Oh, I didn't even notice, but don't tell me which one it is specifically, because you don't want people doxing you or anything like that. So yeah, be careful. And basically what I'm doing right now is just following the Q18 route. But the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to show you another street that the Q18 serves. That's also really tight. Okay, definitely not that one. That's way too tight. Kind of close to your old school. I think I may have seen your old school before, because I have ridden the Q18 a few times before. But this here is 53rd Avenue. Also another very tight street. As you can see. But yeah, that's that for the stupid thing. Alright, that's enough map surfing for now. But basically you get the idea of how tight the streets are where the Q18 serve. But I do like how they adjusted the turnaround over here for the Q18 over in Mass Path, because I'm not gonna do the street surfing again, but this turn over here, that's a really tight turn for the Q18 to turn back around. And here's J Avenue, which is a really tight street as well. But I'm glad that they reduced the amount of tight turns that this route makes. And they also added a stop over here on First Avenue on First Street in Astoria, which I saw it coming. Now here we have the Q19, which it's a good thing they didn't touch the Q19, but the only thing is they're doing is adjusting stops, and they also put a new stop over on First Street as well, just like the Q18. But if there's one thing I don't like about the Q19, this is why. It's no secret that the Q19 has always been known for having really bad service. Like, you can easily get stranded along this route. Like, literally. But just be glad that, if you're riding the Q19, if you get stranded along the Q19 and you're by, like, the Q33 and Q49, and also the Q47, you shouldn't really have to worry about it. Yeah, the Q19, dude, on average, the Q19 runs, like, every hour, I would say. It just really depends. But yeah, they're gonna do something about the service on the Q19, because this is... I don't even know at this point. But here's the Q20. As it was said earlier, no more Q20A and Q20B. So the Q20 has gotten a bit of service reductions during the weekdays. I don't know why they're doing that. And they adjusted the routing over here in Jamaica. As you can see over here, the Q20 is no longer gonna operate further up north along Sutphin Boulevard, and it's no longer gonna serve Hillside Avenue, as you can see over here. And it's gonna follow the Q60, where it would go via Jamaica Avenue to get to Queens Boulevard from there, and that's how it gets to Main Street. So if you ride the Q20 and you want to take within Jamaica and you want to get to the F train, well, you can no longer take the Q20 to get to the Sutphin Boulevard station for the F train. What you're now gonna have to do is you'll now have to ride the Q20 even further up to Briarwood, so you can get the F train from there. And as you go further up north, as you can see, it's only the Q20A routing now. And service along 14th Avenue, which was previously served by the Q20B, which obviously still exists now. All Q20B bus service has been discontinued and has been transferred over to the Q20A. And this part has been replaced by the Q76, which we're going to talk about later, because I have a bit of things to say about the Q76. It's mostly good, let's just say. Yeah, as you can see, no Q21. As we went straight down to Q22. And Q22, there were some good things and some bad things. For one thing, service hours and timings got a little bit screwed up over here. But if there's one thing that's really interesting, well, not really, but all Q22 bus service to Roxbury has been officially discontinued and has been replaced by the Q35. So from now on, the Q22 will now make its last stop at Beach 116th Street Station. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this was not needed because, you know, we pretty much no longer have a bus route that serves the entire length of the entire Rockaways. Like, you know, what's it called? Roxbury is the farthest an MTA bus has ever served so far. And some of you guys are probably wondering, will there ever be bus service up to Breezy Point? The answer is most definitely not. And honestly, I don't think Breezy Point even needs bus service anyways, because everyone's rich over there. But if there's one thing that really interests me about the Q22 is that the Q22 is surprisingly finally gonna serve the Far Rockaway Long Island Railroad Station. Over here is Bayview Avenue and all these other streets over here. And not to mention, it's also gonna serve this section over here. Now, believe it or not, if this proposal actually gets approved, the MTA is basically gonna be restoring an old variant of the Q22 that was cut in 2008, and that variant being the Q22A. Now, this is not the exact routing for the Q22A, but it's similar. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm really interested to see how this plays out, not gonna lie, this new variant, if it does get approved. But I have mostly positive feedback for the Q22, well, mostly for this part, but not so much for the Rockaway Beach Boulevard section. Where, you know, service is getting taken away and getting replaced by the 35. Now here's the Q23. Now this one, Q23, there's some really good changes for the Q23. Over here. For one thing, the Q23 is finally going to operate 24 hours a day. About time the Q23 operates 24/7, because not going to lie, it was badly needed. And finally we're getting it. And for one thing, and another thing I should say, the Q23 is getting pretty major route changes. For one thing, it's no longer going to serve the Corona Plaza area, as we mentioned earlier, as it's being replaced by the Q14, because this was an area where, you know, a lot of Q23 buses were getting delayed and congested, because, you know, a lot of trip times were delayed because they went through the Corona Plaza area. And knowing that area, like, I've been there a lot, I've been there personally, that area gets pretty crowded pretty quickly. So it's a good thing that, you know, they changed it. It's Q23. Also, not to mention, the Q23 also got a major route change in Forest Hills. Because this routing over here in the dotted black lines, the Q23 would go via a street called Austin Street. And for those who know about or have been to Austin Street, you would know that street is packed as hell. I don't even know if the map... Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, as you can see in the red over here, Austin Street is a very congested area. And honestly, I'm very glad that the Q23 is not going to serve Austin Street anymore. But for those who go to Austin Street a lot, sorry, but you don't deserve to have bus service anymore because you kept delaying the bus service on the Q23. And it finally makes sense for the Q23 to serve this part of Yellowstone Boulevard. Because through my personal experience, I've seen Q23 detours where they literally detoured along Queens Boulevard to get to Whitestone Boulevard and continue its normal routing from here. But I'm glad that this route is gonna officially become permanent now if this redesign does go through. But yeah, that's after the Q23. But also, if there's one thing I'm glad that the MTA did not do regarding the Q23, it was a stupid proposal that the MTA made years ago. Like, back in 2022, I should say. Why am I saying years ago? About the Q23. And this one was beyond stupid. Like, literally no one asked for this. Oh, and this was the reroute that I was talking about for the Q18, by the way. I should have showed this earlier, but it is what it is. Yeah, that was a stupid proposal for the Q19. I didn't like that. Yeah, and I didn't like that for the Q20 as well. Especially the fact that it didn't serve Jamaica anymore. That was complete stupid. Showing the Q21 a lot of love. Extending it up to Jackson Heights. Yeah, they were crazy for that. I don't know what they were thinking of when they did the Q22 over here. Alright, let me not nitpick for once. Even though I should be on this old one, but hey. But this is a route I'm definitely nitpicking on. Because why the hell would they extend the Q23 up to Fresh Meadows? Like, what was this? Like, what are the benefits of the Q23 servicing Fresh Meadows? Like, who the hell is gonna ride a bus from East Elmhurst, go via 108th Street, and go to Fresh Meadows? Like, at that point, just transfer to the Q88 at Horace Harding and go to Fresh Meadows from there. That way is more convenient. But I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they didn't do it this time in this redesign. MTA planners' brains were in brain cell debt. Hey, you're not wrong on that, cause some people who designed some of these routes, I was like, what in the absolute hell were they thinking we're making some of these routes? But here's the Q24. It may look like not much is going on here, other than some service improvements that were made during overnights and early mornings on weekdays, which is pretty good. So the Q24 is mostly going to be the same, but the thing is, the Q24's terminal in Jamaica is going to get a bit of a big change. For one thing, the Q24 is finally going to serve the F train. And I'm not going to lie, I was not expecting this, but hey, it's going to make the Q24 even more useful now. So as you can see here, the Q24 used to serve the Van Wyck, and I'm not going to lie, the Van Wyck, like especially in this part, like north of Atlantic Avenue, that's a terrible place for a bus to even serve, in my opinion. But yeah, it's no longer going to serve the main areas of Jamaica Avenue. And as you can see here, it's now going to take Atlantic Avenue and follow the old Q41 routing straight into Sutphin Boulevard to get to Archer Avenue. And I'm not going to lie, I see a lot of Q24 buses entering Jamaica from Sutphin Boulevard, like right underneath the Long Island Railroad Station, a lot. Now usually when the Q24s go to Jamaica, they would have to turn left. They would have to turn left onto the Van Wyck from Atlantic Avenue, then turn right onto Archer to get to, this main area. But I'm glad that they're doing that route change, because honestly, that way is more efficient. Because my question is, who the hell would get off at that part of Archer Avenue? Like, there's literally nothing important there. Like, you know what I mean? But I do approve of the new terminal for the Q24. But the only bummer is if you want to go to, like, 168th Street, yeah, you're either going to do a bit of walking or you're going to have to transfer to a new bus, like the Q110, for example. But other than that, it's good. And this next route, I'm so glad that they did not touch this route at all. And that route being the Q25. The Q25 is not being touched at all, which is a good thing. Because for those that remember seeing that Q17 proposal, well, there's both 168 in Jamaica and 160. I mean, that was pretty obvious, but as I was saying, in a previous redesign that I was just looking at, they merged both the Q17 with the Q25. And I'm not gonna lie, that was actual bullshit. Like, but I'm glad that, the Q25 is not getting touched whatsoever. Because, yes, it is a long route. It's only about, 7 to 8 miles long, if I'm not mistaken. But hey, at least it's getting service improvements during weekdays, and I'm not gonna lie. And I'm not gonna lie, the Q25 is one of my least favorite routes in all of Queens, believe it or not. And there's a good reason for it, because the Q25 does not do that good in terms of bus service, which is why I generally prefer the Q65, because the Q65 is a lot more faster. It hauls ass along 164th Street, but on Casino Boulevard and Parsons Boulevard, the Q25 operators can't really do that too much. But I'm glad that they're trying to make things better for the Q25. And I also forgot to mention that the Q34 is going to be discontinued as well, and all that remaining and all pretty much almost all the existing Q34 service is going to be handed down to the Q25. So that's why it's getting boosted. Oh, I forgot to mention overnight service is being reduced every 40 minutes. That is a shame. Oh my god. I excuse myself if you hear me doing that. I'm sorry about that. But this next route, the Q26, I'm not gonna lie. I really don't like what they did with the Q26. I mean, the Q34 was always local. Oh, you mean, the Q25 to be a full-time limited while the Q34 takes over the local? Honestly, I don't know how that would work out. But here's the Q26 to College Point to from Fresh Meadows to College Point. And honestly, I do not like this at all. I really do not like this at all. Because I'm surprised that they're actually praising the Q26, like having it operate 24 hours, having it operate during off-peak. Like, what is this? And because of this literally made the Q65 even more useless. The Q65 is of course not useless, but it basically made the Q65 useless. Because a lot of people that ride the Q65 coming from these areas over here, they all go up to College Point. Now they're gonna have to transfer from Flushing and wait for God knows how long for the next Q26 to get to College Point. In my opinion, the Q26 should have been left alone. And this is the reason why I'm gonna mention this now, but in the Redesign, the Q65 will only operate between Jamaica and Flushing. This I do not approve at all. Like, I'm sorry, I really don't. But here's the Q27. I know some people were talking about it. So the Q27 is going to get some service changes, but oh boy, that is not good. The Q27 is going to get some slight service reductions. That is not good at all. And it's going to be a rush route. So as you can see over here, the Q27 over here is gonna it will no longer serve Holly Avenue and Casino Boulevard. It will no longer take these two streets to get into Main Street, but it will instead go up. What's the street called? Man, how do I keep forgetting that street name? Oh, I know now. So it's gonna go up Parsons Boulevard, and it's gonna take that to Sanford Avenue to get to Casino Boulevard to get into Main Street, basically. Oh, the Q50 first going to LaGuardia, but now it isn't. I'm not gonna lie. I may sound a little biased about this, but okay, fuck it. I'm gonna say it anyways. I may sound a little biased when I say this, but in my honest opinion, the Q48 and Q50 being merged together to form this long route to operate from Co-op City and Pelham Bay all the way to LaGuardia Airport, that route would have been a disaster in my opinion. Like real shit, it would have been a complete disaster. But if there's one thing I like about the Q27, it's gonna have rush section in this part over here between 46th Avenue. But all the local service is gonna be done by the Q26, which is a good thing, I would say. But good thing they didn't change anything major along this part of the route, like along Springfield. Because I'd be really pissed if they did. Here's the Q28. Now, in the past redesigns, surprisingly enough, they did not touch the Q28 at all. And they didn't even touch the Q28 at all in this redesign. Well, other than giving it rush sections, which honestly I'm not gonna lie was needed. Like, along Northern Boulevard. But honestly, I'm glad that the MTA has not done anything too crazy with the Q28. Unless if it's this one. I don't exactly remember if they touched anything with the Q28 in this redesign. This is the original Queens Bus redesign, by the way. This is from December of 2019, and thank God it got withdrawn 2 years later in 2021, because, bro, this redesign was terrible. And I mean it. Because, you wanna see how terrible it was? Like, hold on, I'm trying to get there. Like, alright, I need to see this real quick. Okay, yeah, what the hell? The Q28 was gonna get replaced by 3 different routes. Like, you see this shit? You see this? Like, these are completely new routes that were just made out of someone's ass. Like, they look literally ridiculous. Like, I can't even understand this route. Why QT? Well, apparently it stood for Queens temporarily. But thank God they didn't actually prove this, because literally every single person in Queens would be very upset with the MTA. What type of gay redesign is that? I know, right? Oh, so they did propose that stupid Q23 to Fresh Meadows. Glad they scrapped that bullshit. But anyways, what's most important is, at least the MTA actually listened to the people for most of these routes. I know there's still some routes that, I'm not really satisfied with, like, the Q4 not having its extension, the Q9 not having its extension. And I'm also very disappointed with the Q26 on what they did. But now here we have the Q29, and thank God, the Q29 also did not get changed in the redesign, because they were tweaking out when they were redesigning the Q29, because like there was this one proposal where they merged part of the Q29 with the Q21, and I used to live by the Q29 when I was a kid. I lived by a couple of routes in Elmhurst and the Bayside area. Fun fact. But yeah, I'm glad that they're not touching the Q29 and not doing anything crazy with it, other than that. But that shouldn't be that much of a problem. Just hopefully, Q29 will have better service. Hopefully. Ah yes, here's the Q30. And for one thing, Q30 might have some better service in the mornings, but during the PMs, not that much. I used to live by the Q30, like right next to it. But hey, at least the Q30 is still gonna operate up to Little Neck. And for all, if anyone's watching this video that goes to Queensborough Community College and you rely on the Q30 every day to get to college, well, unfortunately, the Q30 will no longer directly serve Queensborough Community College. And as you can see here, you'll now have to take the new Q75 to get there. But they also did a minor route changing in Jamaica, which, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, that part was pretty congested anyways. So that's that for the Q30. So here's the Q31. And for the Q31, they did, well, the Q31, I mean, the service has literally stayed the same for the Q31. I just hope they improve service even more in the Q31, because a lot of people have been complaining about how bad service is on the Q31. And I don't know why the hell the MTA decided to not listen to those people. And Q31 was also another route that I used to live not too far from. But if there's one thing I like, At least the Q31 is not gonna make these. I mean, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually 50-50 with what they did with the Q31. At least, hey, they extended the Q31 to serve more Bell Boulevard, and it now goes to that big shopping center in Bay Terrace. Now 3 routes serve that area. Local only. I'm not counting the QM2 or anything like that. Those routes being the Q13, Q28, and Q31. But here's the old section of the Q31 over here. Actually, I think it's better if I view this on the map. So just follow my cursor. So this route over here, I should have done this earlier, but it's not too late. If Google Maps can even let me. And yes, I'm that good with routes. So basically, what's in this blue route right here, this was the old routing for the Q31, and this is the current routing over here. And honestly, in my opinion, I'm 50-50 about getting rid of this entire section of this route. Because for one thing, you know, not only is it a residential area, but this part of the Q31 serves a pretty crucial area. And that being a high school, being Bayside High School. And there's a shit ton of students that heavily rely on the Q31 every day to get to and from school. And a little fun fact, if I was still living in Queens, I would have most likely went to Bayside High School. I would have taken the 27 to 31 every day. Or I could have probably went to Benjamin and Cardozo, which, not a good school. Or I could have went to Francis Lewis High School, but like I said, let's stop talking about my life stories. So why end Q31 bus service there? Oh yeah, if you're talking about the big shopping center at the mall. Okay, I'm bugging out. At the big shopping center up in Bay Terrace. I mean, it's not that bad of a terminal in my opinion. But at the same time, it does make sense because the Q31 literally serves Francis Lewis Boulevard twice. So, like, and my question is, well, yes, there's a GameStop there, but I don't think that would be a good reason why a lot of people would take the bus there. But this is my question. This may be like stupid or whatever for like some people. Like say you're riding the Q31, and you're literally gonna ride to the last stop just to get on the Q76. Like, what are you doing? Like, you can literally get on from 47th Avenue and Francis Lewis Boulevard and get the 76 from there. Well, I mean, unless you're taking, like, the Q28 or the Q16, I mean, that would... Shit. That would make sense. Oh, no, I lost it. Where is it? Okay, no biggie. But yeah, that's that for the Q31. They should really reconsider on what they can do best for the Q31. I feel like we stayed on the Q31 topic a little bit too long. But here's the Q32. And the Q32, not looking too good, but most of, like 99.9% of the route stays the same, thankfully. But my only issue is that they're reducing service during the middays and peak hours during the PM on weekdays. And also a little bit of service during the evenings on Saturdays. But other than that, I mean, honestly, I don't think the Q32 really needs service improvements, in my opinion, because it's mostly parallel to the 7 train. In my opinion. I once saw a Q32 at bus at Flushing. I mean, I'm not surprised because you know, Case Stengel Depot. I don't think that this bus needs frequent service. I mean, I guess, but, you know, at the same time, you have the 7 train. But they also have that minor reroute for the Q32, which I can show. Pretty sure it serves Queens Boulevard, but it's not prioritized because of the Q60. I mean, yeah, the Q60 basically carries the whole entirety of Queens Boulevard, as we all know. But here's the new routing for the Q32. And just watch my map closely. because this is a really good one. So this is what the Q32 routing used to do originally. So it would make us, so the Q32 would, when heading into Manhattan, it would make its last stop, official stop in Queens here on Queens Plaza South and 29th Street. Yeah, Queens Plaza North and 29th Street. And then it would get on the bridge. I don't know why Google Maps won't let me, go that way, but it is what it is. It would take that way to get on the bridge to get to Manhattan. Now what the Q32 is going to do is it's going to completely bypass this, and it's going to go straight to Manhattan after serving this stop over here at Queens Boulevard and Jackson Avenue. Or is this Northern? Oh, Queens Plaza East. And I'm not going to lie, I actually support this because the Q32 and Q60 going via... Let me try to fix this. Because with the Q32 and Q60 going via this way, it takes up a lot of time. And usually a lot of the times this area can get pretty congested at times. So I'm glad that they're finally, adjusting that route. There's a step-free station at Queensboro Plaza now. I see. Now here we have the Q33, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of don't like what they did with the Q33 if I have to be real here. But if there's one thing I do like, is that, service is obviously gonna stay the same. No major service changes. But in the previous redesign, talking about this redesign over here from, I already forgot one. Man, how stupid can I be? Oh man, this thing is lagging. Oh, December 12th of 23, so that was pretty recent. I mean, not recent, because why is the Q33 limited? I'm not gonna lie, it was about time that the Q33 gets limited, because it would literally stop at every single block. There's no need to be sorry. But let me show you what they did in the previous redesign for the Q33. So basically over here in the old redesign, they also did have the Q33 go to Marine Yard Terminal A at LaGuardia Airport, but the only downside is it served 81st Street, and 81st Street is served by the Q32 between Roosevelt Avenue and Northern Boulevard. Like, why are you having the Q33 serve 81st Street? Because clearly a lot of people depend on the Q33 along 83rd Street. But I'm glad that they didn't do that this time, and they actually listened. But honestly, the Q33 is better off going to 94th Street. Because basically what they did is they swapped the two northern terminuses for the Q33 and Q47. And we'll get into the Q47 and also the Q49 later on, because I have some things to say about those routes. Here we have the Q35, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of not a big fan of what they did. But over in the Brooklyn section, I do support it. Because, the Q35 basically makes all limited stops in Brooklyn anyway. But it's bound to make even more limited stops. It's bound to even make more. Alright, I had to take care of something real quick, but I was AFK for like a brief minute. Yeah, the western part in the Rockaways, yeah, that is true. It is a desert. But over here, what they did with 35 is that, for one thing, there will no longer be bus service along Newport Avenue. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of disagree with removing bus service entirely from Newport Avenue because I know Newport Avenue doesn't usually get a lot of riders, but there's 30 times where Newport Avenue has gotten a lot of riders at one point. But that's a big advantage for the 35 because the 35 be hauling down that street, and there's no traffic lights on that street too. Well, yeah, I mean, I know that area's rich, but like, should have added a new route to the westernmost point of the Rockaways. Probably the Q35A. I guess that would work, but one thing I don't like is they're now gonna have the Q35 terminate at where the ferry stops at over here in the Rockaways. It's better off ending off at Beach 116th Street. Because I don't really support what they do with the Q35, honestly. The Brooklyn part is fine, but the Rockaways, I'm not really that pleased if I have to be really here. And here's the Q36. This one's a really good one because the Q36 is now finally going to serve Little Neck full time. And not only just that, but the Q36 is finally going to start running to Little Neck on the weekends. Isn't that exciting? Because a lot of residents that live in Little Neck and also live along Little Neck Parkway have been complaining to the MTA for like years on when the Q36 is going to start running on weekends along Little Neck Parkway, and or like when are we going to start to get actual bus service on the weekends on the Parkway. Well, guess what? It's finally going to happen, and I really do hope that this does get approved. And if there's one thing which I do find to be pretty good as well is that, yeah, Little Neck is pretty quiet. I've been there personally before. It's not that bad of a neighborhood. But if there's one thing I like about the Q36, is that it's gonna serve Springfield Boulevard, which I personally don't mind, and it's no longer gonna serve 212th Street and 212th Street and 212th Place, and this part of Jamaica Avenue over here. But it's going to be replaced by the new Q82, and it's going to be replaced by part of the Q110. Which, I don't mind. But yeah, that's a huge W for the Q36 right there. Oh yeah, Q36 is like the second or third longest route out of Queens Village Depot. Actually, second route. Now here's the Q37. Now the Q37, thankfully they didn't change much of it. But if there's one thing they did in the previous redesign for the Q37... Oh, that's the Q36. Oh yeah, they did propose it to run via Springfield Boulevard and Little Neck full-time, but except no weekend service. But I'm glad they did add weekend service. But with the old Q37 from the previous redesign from 2023, late 2023 to be specific, they actually extended the Q37 to JFK Airport. But unfortunately they cut it. But I'm not gonna lie, if I have to be real here, does the Q37 really need to go to JFK Airport, in my opinion? I mean, like, you already have the Q10 for that, so like why extend the Q37 to JFK Airport? Like, you know what I mean? But if there's one thing I don't like, I want to say rest in peace Q37B. I mean, the Q37B is likely to stay still. Because I mean, I doubt the Q37 is gonna even serve the Aqueduct racetrack full time. It's gonna still stay the 37B. But if there's one thing I don't like, they didn't add 24-hour service to the Q37, and I'm not gonna lie, the Q37 could have had a huge potential running 24 hours. But hopefully they do reconsider that. And here's the Q38, which got some slight service reductions, which I'm not surprised because this is your answer. It got split. And honestly, I don't really know what the future of this leg of the Q38 is gonna even be like, in my opinion. Cause, in my honest opinion, as a person who lived by the Q38 and as a person who has also ridden the Q38 a lot, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the Q38 ran kind of a bit good when it was this big loop route from Corona, serving Middle Village, and Regal Park. Yeah, the Q38 is a loop route. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how to feel about the Q38, since it's being officially split. Because, the Q38 did serve a good purpose. I'm not even gonna hold you. Because could have connected the terminuses together. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think there was really a point in connecting the terminuses because the Q23 already did that, so. Well, actually, both the mix of Q23 and Q58, however you want to put it. Now here's the Q39, and the Q39, it's mostly staying the same. Oh, but except it's getting overnight service reduced to every 60 minutes on Saturdays. I don't know what's to do with that, but that shouldn't be an issue. Hopefully not. But if there's one thing about the Q39, well, the Q39 is gonna, directly go to Queensboro Plaza. It's still gonna serve it, of course. But the only but the only issue is it's no longer gonna stop at Court Square stations for the E, M, G, and 7 lines. It's basically no longer gonna serve the G train. As you can see here, it says it's still gonna serve the G train, but that's not true. It's not. I mean, for it to actually serve the G train, it actually has to stop at Court Square. Like, you know what I mean? But hope they bring that section back. How are drivers gonna take a break? Like, from the 38? No, but they lay over at Rego Park as well. Remember that. Here's the Q40. And Q40, not much is going on. But if there's one thing I like, Q40 is gonna have, rush sections that are like, but one thing I wondered is, why is it gonna have a rush section along Lakewood Avenue? Like the end of Sutphin Boulevard and Lakewood, right at this corner. That would be a good stopping place for the rush section, and it can make all local stops on Lakewood Avenue, cause I don't know, the MTA can be weird sometimes. Because a lot of people that rely on the Q40 from Jamaica, from this main area over here, a lot of them get off at Lakewood Avenue. I've ridden the Q40 before, along with all the other Queens local routes, and based on my experience, a lot of people do get off at Lakewood. Surprised the Q40 hasn't gone off 142nd, 143rd Street. Those streets are quite tight. Yeah, and I was actually talking about that earlier when I was talking about the Q18. Yeah, because the Q40 is also another route in Queens that goes through some pretty congested areas. But there was a proposal made where the Q40 would serve, I think, 143rd Street, and one direction would serve 142nd while the other would serve 143rd. That's how it went. But I mean, that would have been a good proposal. I think it's somewhere in this one. I don't exactly remember. It's been quite a while since I last looked at this one, so I do apologize. I don't always remember everything. So this is what I'm talking about. So it basically served 143rd Street heading southbound, and then it would serve 142nd Street heading northbound. Which, I mean, I guess that was not bad, but I guess we'll just leave the Q40 as is. Sometimes the MTAs races for the redesigns. For example, why do you want the Q105? Yeah, like, what the hell was the Q105? I don't like that. But here's the Q41. Now, the Q41 is mostly going to stay the same, with some slight service improvements, other than this, during PM peak, during weekdays. But it's only a minute, so who cares? But for the Q41, it's no longer going to serve Atlantic Avenue. It's no longer going to serve 127th, 128th Streets over here. It's basically no longer going to serve Richmond Hill, if you think about it. Which honestly is a pretty big bummer. And this is the reason why the Q40 has a rush section on Lakewood Avenue, because the Q41 is now going to have a completely new route where it's going to go further down Sutphin Boulevard. It's going to go down Lakewood Avenue, and it's going to take that to get to 109th Avenue, and it's continue its normal route from there. Which, I'm not gonna lie, I mean it's alright. I mean, it's alright, I would say, in my opinion. But honestly, I prefer the old route a lot more because a lot of people did get on from there. Maybe if they make like Q41A, that would still serve this section. I mean, that would work, in my opinion. Because a lot of people do rely on the Q41 over here in this section. Now here's the Q42. Now not much is being changed with Q42. Well, why am I saying that? Literally nothing is being changed with the Q42. Other than it getting some stops cut or changed. Yeah, this is just a neighborhood route. And it's one of the smallest routes in Queens. Actually, is the Q42 the smallest route in Queens? Or is it routes like the Q64 or Q33? I'll have to figure out and do some calculations later on at some point and figure out what is, But at least they're not touching the Q42 because I know a lot of people will complain. I've been thinking hardly anyone. Oh, here's the Q43. So the Q43, not much is being changed, but the thing is, it's getting reduced service, which is a bummer. Probably has to do with the fact that the Q1 is partially replacing it as well. Like, the Q1 is being extended to Jamaica Long Island Railroad Station. But there was a really good proposal I saw of the Q43. And I can show it to you right now. And this one I really liked, and I wish this actually went through. And that is, they extended the Q43 up to Long Island Jewish Hospital. And I'm not gonna lie. I'm not even gonna lie here. If the Q43 was extended to Long Island Jewish Hospital, that would have been a game changer. It legit would have been a game changer. Because what it would do is, it would basically follow the N26 routing. It would go further into Nassau County. It would turn onto Lakeville Road, left onto Lakeville Road. I think it would make a stop like somewhere around over here, I believe. Somewhere around here. Now, believe it or not, the N26 actually does not make any stops along Lakeville Road, believe it or not. Which I don't understand why. Probably because it only runs to Great Neck in the mornings and Jamaica in the afternoons. That might be why. But they better improve service on the N26 route from Nice Bus. But we're not going to talk about Nice Bus at all in this video. I'm going to try not to. Because, this is only about Queens. With the Q43 being extended to Long Island Jewish Hospital, this would be a game changer. So that way, if people are over here on this part of, Hillside Avenue, and they need to get to Long Island Jewish Hospital, but they would have to take the Q36 to get there. And knowing the Q36, that route is not always reliable. But obviously the Q46 is. So instead of doing all that, they can just take the Q43 directly straight to Long Island Jewish Hospital. And in my opinion, that would have been beneficial. But of course, knowing the MTA and how stupid they are, of course they decided to leave that out. They decided to literally leave out some of the best proposals to ever exist, like known to mankind. And here's the Q44. The Q44 Select Bus Service. As we all know, no changes to the route whatsoever, which is a good thing. Now I did mention earlier that the Q44 was going to be extended to Fordham Plaza. It would have been much more easier to commute for people to get to Fordham University. For Fordham University students. Because I know some people who go to Fordham University. Where is it? Right over here. It would have been slightly easier for them to get to Fordham University, but at the same time, that would have added a lot of commute time because if the Q44 was actually extended to Fordham Plaza, almost all the trips would have been delayed, like severely, like up to 45 minutes to an hour. And usually the Q44 gets delayed by 30 minutes on average. Because, Jamaica, Flushing, of course, the Whitestone Bridge, Hutchinson Parkway, Cross Bronx Expressway, Yeah, it's pretty bad on the 44. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And here we have a bit of a weird route. So this here's the Q45. And no, this is not the Q45 that was, well, that was merged with the Q47 back in 2011. This is a completely new Q45. And apparently it's gonna operate 24 hours from Kew Gardens to Fresh Meadows? What? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. The Q45, this is a bit of a weird route in my opinion. A direct route from Kew Gardens to Fresh Meadows. Yeah, I know, it's quite short. That's like 4 miles. Oh, it doesn't even say how many miles long it is. Because it did say over here. Oh yeah, yeah, it did say on this one. And this one too. But why doesn't it say it over here? That's kind of stupid. Taking away basic information from us. Pretty sure they could have extended it a bit further. Kew Gardens to 165th Street Terminal via Union Turnpike would be. Oh god, I don't even want to imagine that. But Q45, I don't like this. It's generally weird. But here's the Q46, and as you can see, it's getting service taken away because of this new idiotic route. Q46, but hey, at least it's still going to Long Island Jewish Hospital. But it's no longer going to go to Glen Oaks because it's going to be relabeled to the Q48. And my question is, why the hell would they relabel the Glen Oaks section to the Q48? Like, honestly, that makes no sense in my opinion. And because of this, yes, the original Q48, it took over the original Q48, as in the one we know that goes from Flushing to LaGuardia Airport. That was replaced by a new route called the Q90. And not gonna lie, surprisingly enough, it actually looks interesting, but I'm gonna save that for when we get there. Here's the Q47. And the Q47, the Q48 is going from LaGuardia to Glen Oaks. See, I'm not gonna lie, I was actually expecting someone to see someone say this. Yeah, because people with a Q48 being serving between Kew Gardens and Glen Oaks, people are gonna think of this crazy route called there's the Q48 is being extended from LaGuardia Airport to Kew Gardens, or LaGuardia Airport to Glen Oaks, or Flushing to Glen Oaks, or Flushing to Kew Gardens. Like that's what I don't like about that section of the Q46 being relabeled to the Q48. It's gonna cause a lot of chaos. Like Q47, I'm not gonna lie, some of it's pretty good. For one thing, although it's no longer gonna serve 69th Street Station on the 7 anymore, but hey, it's a good thing it's gonna serve Woodside Avenue, because this part of Roosevelt Avenue and 69th Street, it's congested as hell. I've ridden on it before, and it's pretty bad. And I'm not gonna lie, the Q47 is more beneficial serving 75th Street rather than 73rd Street, if I have to be real here. But if there's one thing I don't like, it's no longer going to serve the Bulova Corporate Center. And Bulova is a company that makes watches, as some of us may know. But quite a couple of people use the bus to get there, but not a whole lot though, so I would still keep service there. But the only thing I don't like about the Q47 is they swapped the terminals with the Q33. This is what I said earlier when I was talking about the Q33. I don't like what they did with the 47. If anything, the 47 was just fine going to Terminal A. And now you're doing that to the 33? Like bring the 33 back to 94th Street, so that way, people can literally have an easier way of connecting to the Q72. And even the M60. Well, I mean, even though the M60 does serve all the terminals at LaGuardia Airport. But come on. When the Q is not running. The Q90 shuttle. I remember that. And yes, we have the stupid Q48 section. But it's only going to run on weekdays. Because no one goes to Glen Oaks on the weekends. But yeah, this, I don't like this at all. I genuinely don't like it. Like, the name, it's mostly the name that annoys me. Like, that bugs me out, I should say. It's literally the Q46. Literally, like, just keep it as Q46. Now you're gonna have people think that the Q48 goes from Glen Oaks to, I don't know, LaGuardia Airport via Kew Gardens and Flushing. I could imagine what I could imagine what the route would actually look like if it was actually like, you know, like a full-on route serving like I could imagine a full-on route. Actually, let me do this. You can call me crazy on this all you want, but I dead don't care. I'm just gonna let my wild imagination get to me at this point. And please excuse me for that. Oh god, I gotta... Did I forget the routing already? No, I didn't, thankfully. So this is how we'll do it. The MTAs is a unicorn for when it's coming down to the 48. The MTAs is generally stupid. I'm gonna try not to waste, you know, too much time on this, because, you know, I know we have a lot to do, but I get it. I'm gonna try to spend like 5 minutes on this. 5 minutes max, I promise y'all. Then I'll get back to reviewing the routes. Almost halfway done. Well, this is what the route looks like. I have to put an indicator there so that way it doesn't fuck up the maps. How am I gonna do it? Sorry about this, but I'm gonna have to do it via Jewel. Yep, that's the only way I can think of doing it. This is gonna look a bit stupid. I'm gonna have to do the route like this. Alright, got 108th over here. I'm not gonna do like the full routing into the airport, but whatever Google can let me do, then... Oh, we can. Okay, good. Alright, I'm just gonna do it this way. I'm not gonna do anything too crazy. Okay, I'll just do it this way. So this is how people will imagine the Q48 now. I'll take a screenshot of it for myself. That was loud. The Q48 does go to Terminal A. But basically, this is what the Q48 would look like. On how people would think it is. Since it's now displayed as, you know, Kew Gardens, Glen Oaks, Flushing, LaGuardia. But yeah, enough route proposing, let's get back to what we were doing. So here we are at the Q49. And the Q49 is staying the same. But if there's one thing I don't like about the Q49, is that, in a previous redesign, ew, not that one, get that out of my face. So this is the proposed Q49 over here from no, not December, March of 2022. And basically, with this proposed Q48 over here, it would be extended. It would be extended to to Astoria Boulevard and 108th Street, where it would connect to the Q23, like basically Q23, Q48, whatever route would be operating here. It would have a slight reroute over here, where it would be rerouted, where it would not serve 32nd Street and would serve 31st Avenue, and then head to 92nd Street. Oh, that's in the reverse way. But honestly, I didn't really know how to feel about the extension to 108th, but I feel like that could have worked. Not gonna lie. But not gonna lie, they should have. I'm not gonna lie, they should have brought 24-hour service to the Q49, cause a lot of people do rely on the Q49, cause you see how crazy packed those lines are at Jackson Heights, for people waiting for the Q33 and Q49. That place is a madhouse. And here we have the Q50, which is literally gonna stay the same, but on the bright side, it's gonna run 24 hours. And honestly, it's about time, because look at this. 3:30 a.m. to 1:15 a.m. Honestly, it was very well deserved that the Q50 does run 24 hours. I've seriously questioned all these years, why does it not run, in 24 hours? And, I see that, a lot of people did apparently like that it was merged with the Q48, where it would go to LaGuardia Airport. But in my opinion, the Q50 being extended to LaGuardia Airport, the Q50 being merged with the Q48, and making this long route that would serve either Co-op City or Pelham Bay Park and would go all the way down to LaGuardia Airport via Flushing. Honestly, a route like that is not even worth it in my opinion. Because it's basically going to be the same shit with the Q44, but except it's going to be even way worse. Because, you not only have to deal with, the Hutchinson River Parkway, Bruckner Boulevard, the Whitestone Bridge, the Whitestone Expressway, and Flushing, but now you also have to deal with the amount of chaos at LaGuardia Airport and Roosevelt Avenue. So, these trips would be an average of 30 minutes late. And if you miss your flight, if you live in Co-op City or wherever, or along Pelham Bay Park or whatever, and you have to catch a flight to LaGuardia Airport, and you miss it, well, you can blame the new stupid Q50 for that. And which is why, in my opinion, I think that the Q50 should not go to LaGuardia Airport. And I'm glad it won't. Well, Co-op City will have a 1C ride to Queens. I mean, yeah, to Flushing, yeah. Of course, that's still gonna be a thing. But yeah, here's the Q51 to Linden Boulevard. This is a new proposed route, and I'm not gonna lie, I actually like this because I've always wondered, what is Linden Boulevard in Queens, not counting the Q4, gonna have its own bus route, serving almost the entire length? Because fun fact, back in the day, before the 2010 budget cuts that took place on June 27th of 2010, there used to be this bus route called the Q89. It was basically like the Q9, where it would serve Jamaica, 165th Street Terminal, and would go to South Ozone Park. It would not take the Van Wyck, but instead it would do something like this. Hopefully Google Maps will allow me to do it. Oh yeah, well, cause I don't want it to think that, I'm doing my route in restricted roads. And I don't want that. Okay, not Foch. Didn't go via Foch, I went via Linden. So basically, this route over here, this was what the Q89 used to do back then. But as of 2010, the route has since been discontinued. And it never got replaced. Until now, basically. And I'm glad that the Q51 is coming in clutch. Here's the Q52. Not much is being changed other than this little stop that's being added over there in Arvern. It was proposed that the Q52 would be extended to Jackson Heights in the March 2022 redesign. But honestly, in my opinion, the Q52 does not need to go to. The Q52 does not need to go to what's it called? It does not need to go to Jackson Heights, in my opinion. I wish the Q52 would make local stops at Woodhaven. Same with the 53. I mean, there's no point because, bro, you literally have the Q11 and Q21 that already do that. So, and besides, the Q52 and Q53 were made SPS for a reason. It all started because of the Q53. And speaking of the Q53, no changes for the 53 whatsoever, which is good. The Q53 should be left as is. Oh, you're talking about when the Q21 is discontinued? Well, all the service that the Q21 had is being replaced by the Q11, so it wouldn't even make a difference. Well, the Q11 headaways are bound to get much more better when it's going to take over all the former Q21 service. That service is not going to go to waste. But if there's one thing I didn't like about the Q53, like in the March 2022 redesign, let me show you. Because for some reason, the Q53 would no longer serve Woodside. And I'm like, how the hell could they do this? Because the Q53 literally serves a whole LIR station, and it also serves the 7 Express. And the fact that you're gonna take away service from a pretty important station, like, come on, are you serious? Well, I'm glad they didn't make that mistake this time. Imagine a busway on Woodhaven. I mean, doesn't that kind of exist in a way? Because, the bus lanes and stuff like that. But if you're talking like an actual BRT, as in bus rapid transit busway, then I don't know how that's going to work, honestly, on Woodhaven and Cross Bay. Here's the Q54. And I'm not going to lie, this has been needed for the Q54 for a very long while, but it's finally going to get a limited variant, and it's going to get some service improvements. Because I've ridden the Q54 quite a couple of times, mostly between Jamaica and Atlas Park Mall in Glendale. That's where the Q47 makes its last stop, by the way. And the Q29 also stops by it as well, but it doesn't make its last stop there, as it makes its last stop further down in Glendale by Myrtle Avenue, where the Q55 serves. But anyways, I'm glad that the Q54 has finally gotten a limited variant, and it finally got some service improvements because man, the Q54 is notoriously known for being such a slow route. And every time whenever I ride the Q54, my ride would be mad slow. Like, the route takes like about 2 hours on average to complete its trip from Williamsburg all the way to Jamaica. Like, yeah, it was that bad. And dude, the 54 is as slow as a snail. But hopefully, this will be able to fix this problem for the Q54. And here we have the Q55. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm really disappointed with the Q55. Y'all know why? Q60, yeah, the Q60 does haul on Queens Boulevard. But back to the Q55. There's something that I really wish happened with the Q55, but unfortunately it didn't. And the reason why is because if we look back at the... No, not that one. Not this one. If we look back at the proposal from March of 2022, as you can see here, they actually extended the Q55 to Jamaica. And I'm not gonna lie, this would have made the Q55 even more useful because we don't really have any bus routes that directly serve. We don't really have any bus routes that directly serve between Jamaica and Ridgewood, and the Q55 would have changed that all. Cause, man, I wish they actually extended the Q55 to Jamaica, cause that was definitely a proposal that I really liked. And honestly, it would be way more easier for me to get to Ridgewood if I really do needed to go there. But now, if you want to do that, now you're gonna have to take you're gonna have to get on the J and Z trains and get off at 121st Street. And you're gonna have to do a bit of walking to get to the Q55 if you get off at 121st Street on the J and Z lines. And also if you go to 111th Street as well. The walk is not that bad. Well, the walk is not bad, but it's just like, come on. Like, make people's lives more easier. Feel bad for them having to walk to 121st. Yeah, that's exactly what I said, man. Queens is a garbage borough. But hey, I don't take offense to that because people have said, Queens is overrated and that kind of stuff. Man, I don't care. I was born and raised in Queens, and I'll never stop hating it. And oh my god, Queens is a borough that I was born and raised in, and I will never stop, loving it. I don't hate Queens, to get that clear. But here's the Q56, which is another slow route. And it serves, Jamaica Avenue right underneath the J train. And I'm not gonna lie, the 56 is slow as hell. It's way worse than the Q54 if you ask me. But if there's one thing I will say, I prefer the Q24 way over than the Q56 because I don't like the Q56. And a lot of bus operators from East New York Depot don't even like driving the Q56, and honestly, I can't blame them. Yeah. No service changes for the Q56? Yeah, no. Well, yeah, the J train, yeah. It literally runs underneath the J train it literally serves the entire J train from its first stop in Jamaica all the way to Cypress Hills. That is a good point, I will say. But at the same time, both the J train and the Q56 have ass service. Yeah, unfortunately, that's not the case with the Q56. With its frequencies literally still remain the same, it's not going to change. It's going to get worse. Actually, it's going to just stay the same. Oh, but here's the Q58. And as you can see here, the Q58 is getting service reductions. And now, before you even say anything, there's a good reason as to why, because for those who are talking about the Q98, it's going to happen. But at least, they don't really change much with the Q58, thankfully. But I remember there was a proposal back in 2022. There was a 2022 proposal with the Q58, where the Q58 would serve 111th Street in Corona, and it would actually serve Roosevelt Avenue to get to Flushing. And if that ever happened, the Q58 would officially serve the 7 train. Like, officially serve like an actual 7 train stop. Now, some people might argue, oh, the Q58 already does serve the 7. Yeah, but the thing is, the Q58 doesn't even make its last stop in, like, the main area of Flushing. Like, when I say the main area of Flushing, I'm talking about Main Street and Roosevelt Avenue, or like 39th Avenue, or basically in that area. But hey, I think the Q98 is gonna do that. Or is it gonna... Actually, probably not. I'll have to look at it once we get there. Yeah, don't get me started on Roosevelt Avenue, man. But here's the Q59. Here's the Q59. Well, not much has changed with the Q59. But hey, honestly, I don't think the Q59 doesn't need to be changed that much, if I have to be real here. I did used to live by the 59 when I was younger. Same with the Q58 and also the 53. But the Q59 is not that bad. And honestly, it should be the way as it is. Here's the Q60. And oh boy, the Q60 might be getting some slight service reductions on Sundays. That's not good. Q60 is gonna stay the same, thankfully. Good thing they're not touching it. Yeah, the Q60 is slow. It is slow, I will say, yeah. But hey. It's... Okay, I might sound biased for this, but I guess you could say it's not too bad. I don't know, maybe that's just me. It was supposed to be limited. That was stupid. I'm not even gonna lie. there's honestly no point in having the Q60 become a limited route, because majority of Queens Boulevard is served by the E, F, M, R, and 7 trains. And aside from that, you also have the Long Island Railroad. I mean, I don't know why I'm even counting this, but it basically like serves near Queens Boulevard, so like there's legit no point, if I have to be real here. Why doesn't the Q60 stop at Jamaica Center? It stops at Sutphin and Archer. I mean, you can't complain. But there's honestly no reason for it. The Q60. There's honestly no reason for the Q60 to go to like, 150, like 153rd Street and that kind of. Yeah, but I mean, Q60 makes its last stop right at an elementary school. Which, I don't know why, but what do you mean the Long Island Railroad is infrequent? The Long Island Railroad is one of the most frequent railroads in like all of America. And I ride the Long Island Railroad like every day. Hasn't given me a problem in like a while. But yeah. Here's the Q61. This is a new proposed route. And this route is going to serve Flushing to Beakhurst. It's basically going to be the Q15, but except it's going to be like more local. This is what I mean. So it's basically going to replace the entire Q34 routing, like the entire Q34 routing north of Flushing, because south of Flushing it was mostly parallel to the Q25. And from there, instead of making its last stop at Willis Point 149th Street, it's gonna go further up on Willis Point Boulevard, which is a good thing. Gonna go on Francis Boulevard, then go on 154th Street, and go to Pasco Boulevard and go to Beakers from there. And honestly, that's a good thing because this part of Willis Point Boulevard doesn't really have the best bus service. Like, either no bus service or trash bus service. I'm honestly a Nova bus person. If that answers... Alright, that does answer your question. What am I saying? But hey, at least it's gonna run on weekends. I mean, the frequencies don't look too bad for, a neighborhood route like this. Yeah, if anything, this route is definitely gonna be based out of Casey's Dingle. No doubts on that. But we'll have to see. Here's the Q63. This is a rush route. And this is a new variant to the Q66. Basically, this is the Q63. Yeah, Seb, this live is still going. I've been live for like... I don't even know how long I was live for. But anyways, yeah, this is gonna be a College Point. I mean, it has to be, because, if the Q66 is based out of College Point, it's gonna be... Q63 is also gonna be based out of College Point. But as you can see here, it's gonna make... Oh, wow, 8. Damn, I didn't realize I was live for that long, but... Like I said, I knew it was gonna be that long. It's gonna be 120 minutes live, I know it. I wouldn't consider College Point Depot to be boring, not gonna lie. But for the Q63, as you can see, it's gonna make no stops between this part of Northern Boulevard over in the East Elmer section and Flushing as well, and make no stops here. But honestly, I don't know how this is gonna work out in my opinion. Maybe I could see potential in it. I don't know, but I could see it probably being pretty successful. But let's just... Alright, here's the Q64. Now, thank God they're not changing the Q64, and thank God they're not extending it to JFK Airport. You guys probably might be wondering, what the hell am I even talking about? Well, you guys may want to beat your eyes on something that is gonna literally have you throw your eyeballs in the trash. Why did MTA give diesel buses to College Point? College Point operates a mix of both diesel and CNGs because their MCIs are diesels. Basically, this is what I'm talking about. Q10 being Q64 being extended to JFK Airport. I don't understand what the hell was in their right minds of merging the Q10 and the Q64 together. Because not only would this route be super duper crowded, but it would cause, a lot of delays and stuff like that. And bro, there's literally no reason for the Q64 to be touched at all. Like, like at least down here. Because honestly, this is just crazy. The Q64 and Q10 should have just been left alone the way it is, but thank God they are left alone now. Although I remember there was a time where I did make a proposal where the Q64 should serve 73rd Avenue, like heading eastbound, where it serve the 188th Street Loop in Fresh Meadows, and it could serve 230th Street in Oakland Gardens. That's where the old Q75 route used to serve. But yeah, that would have been a cool proposal. I'm not even gonna lie. Now here's the Q65. I know we were talking about this like, I don't know, an hour ago or something. And yeah, this is what they meant. But I really don't like what they did with the Q65. I'm gonna be brutally honest. Because the Q65 was just fine the way it is, like, operating all the way up to College Point. And the fact that its College Point routing has been replaced by the Q26 absolutely disgusts me. Honestly, probably the B103. The B103's cut was probably the worst, because, dude, that route was literally split in half. Actually, it was more than split in half. Like, a good 60% of the route was cut. I mean, the Q65, believe it or not, fun fact, the Q65 was actually the longest local bus route out of College Point. But yeah, I'm just throwing out random facts that you probably didn't know, but, I mean, hey. Who would not want to hear that? But if there's one thing, I guess... Actually, I don't think I'm okay with this. Oh. What am I doing? So over here, the Q65 is gonna go up, continue further up on 162nd Street, and it's gonna take Sanford Avenue. And it's gonna take that to get to Casino, to get to Main Street, into Flushing. Instead of taking 45th Avenue all the way down to Bound Street and getting to Sanford from there. The reason why I don't support the idea of having the Q65 going along Sanford Avenue here. Should the MTA... Honestly, the Q76 is better off staying at Case Stengel because it's a New York City transit route. So here's my reason as to why I think it's a bad idea for the Q65 to be extended. No, sorry, not extended. Why the Q65 should not go via Sanford Avenue in this part. Because over here, this is what the Q65 would normally do, right? Well, this is what the Q65 is proposed to do. I'm sorry. But if it goes via 45th Avenue, over here, let me just... Stupid thing. Why doesn't... Okay, so this is what the normal Q65 route does. The reason why I don't support the Q65 going via Sanford Avenue is because on 45th Avenue, right over here, right on Parsons Boulevard, this is where the Q26 serves currently. The reason why I don't support it is because the Q65 serves a major hospital. It serves Flushing Hospital Medical Center. And people that need to go to this hospital, now they don't have a direct bus from along here, from within this area of Queens. They don't have a direct route to, get to this hospital. And, they would have to rely on the Q26 to get there. And honestly, I don't like this idea. Yeah, I don't like the idea of, having the Q65 go via Sanford Avenue entirely. That's the hospital my aunt goes to. Yeah, that's a good point, because, if you have family members that, that can't really, go there, like, on their own, and, they have to rely on public transportation just to get here, they can't really go to this hospital anymore. I mean, you have the Q26, but still. But yeah. I'm not gonna lie. The Q26 truly ruined the Q65. I really hope this doesn't get proposed. Well, I really hope this doesn't actually get approved. With the Q26 and Q65. But here's the Q66. It's gonna be a fully local route. And as you can see, service was reduced. Yeah, exactly. The Q65 was as good as is. And as you can see here, the Q66 got service reductions. I think we already know why, because of the Q63. And as you can see, the Q66 is going to be fully local, as it always was from the very beginning. But one thing that annoys me is that if you're waiting for a bus along 35th Avenue, it may not even show up sometimes because knowing the Q66, even though the Q66 can bunch up at times, but you gotta remember, there's times when the Q66 can short turn in at Woodside 51st Street, which is right by the Northern Boulevard subway station for the M&R trains. The Q69 comes more than the Q66. Yeah, the Q69, yeah, it's way more frequent. But if you have to worry about taking the Q66 to get to Long Island City from like this part of 21st Street, you wouldn't even have to worry because there's other alternatives. But I don't really have a problem with the Q66 and the Q63 if I have to be real. If almost every Q66 bus short turned up Woodside, that would have been a disaster. 21st Street is a horrible corridor. I mean, even though that corridor recently got bus lanes, I'm not gonna lie. I can tell that some bus service there hasn't gotten any better. Like, with the Q66 and probably the Q100 as well. I'm not gonna lie. It's like all the bus services going over to the Q69. Oh, hello from Chicago. Oh, hello. Why are most bus lines east of Jamaica rush routes? I mean, for people, to make the commutes faster for people trying to get to Jamaica and trying to get home from Jamaica, pretty much. But here's the Q67. But if there's one thing I really like, and honestly this came to me by surprise, they actually increased service by a lot for the Q67. Like on weekends, especially on weekends, because look at this. Because the Q67 used to literally operate every hour on the weekends, and now it's going to operate every 30 minutes. I actually like this. But the only problem is the Q67 is no longer going to go into the main area of Long Island City. And that would be, Queens Plaza. It would no longer serve the R train, which honestly is pretty stupid. But hey, at least it still serves 7, but still. This is where a lot of bus routes serve. Like, Queens Plaza South and 28th Street. That's a pretty important That's a pretty important place for a bus to, terminate at. Now it's going to make us last stop at Court Square for the G train at 7. But everything else is good with the Q67, but it's just the northern terminal bugs me the most. I really hope they fix that. Because then the Q67 will literally be perfect. Oh, and here's the Q69. We were just talking about it. So the Q69 is not getting that much changes, but except the only thing is the Q69 will no longer serve 44th Drive. So it's no longer going to be what I like to call a loop route. Because if you think about it, the Q69, I like to view the Q69 to be a loop route in my opinion. And it may kind of make a bit of sense. Because over here, as you can see over here, this is the first and last stop for the Q69. But usually, the layovers here for the Q69 is not even that long. It's only like 5 minutes before the operators have to do a return trip back to Jackson Heights. Because usually there would be people that would stay on the bus. There would usually be people that would stay on the bus at this point. Because, they're trying to get to places along, 44th Drive, Jackson Avenue. And they could also, walk over to get the G train. Yeah. So, in my opinion, I mean, this routing is alright, I would say. But maybe I hope the Q67 can, replace at least part of this, and, the Q39 can. But the Q69 is alright for me, I would say. Q70, it's pretty self-explanatory that this route has no service changes, and I'm glad they don't plan to change the Q70 routing. They should not even be doing that in the first place, which I'm glad they did not do. So that's the W for the MTA. And here's the Q72. And Q72 was also one of my other home routes that I used to live by when I was a kid. Only minor stop changes, that's it. But Q72 it's gonna have service improvements. It's gonna have added service hours. Well, I mean, not really. It's gonna have added service hours, but only 5 minutes. But some service might get slightly reduced and slightly improved on the weekdays, but that shouldn't really affect anyone because it's only, well, during the AM it's only a 1 minute difference, but in the evening I don't know about this because yeah, that's a pretty big. That's a 4. No, actually, that's a good thing. What the hell? Oh my god, I'm not reading properly today. But yeah, the 13-minute service increased, so that's good. I don't know what I was thinking. Alright, so now here's a new here's a new route that will be introduced. And it's called the Q74. Basically, you might be wondering to yourself, why did part of the Q64 get service reductions? Well, this is why, because Jewel Avenue will now be having a new route. And that route is not an express route. That route being the Q74. Far Rockaway needs more buses. Okay, so I don't know if you're talking about the. No, actually, I think you're talking about the actual neighborhood, but I think Far Rockaway is good for now with the amount of bus routes they already have. But the Q74, I'm not gonna lie, this is a bit weird. I don't know how to feel about this, honestly. So the Q74 is going to serve the entirety of Jewel Avenue, just like how the Q64 does. It's basically duplicated service. It's going to go up 164th Street, serve Horace Hart Expressway, and it's going to go to Queensboro Community College. I mean, I guess that would be convenient. I mean, because I have a friend who literally lives along the Q64, and I know he goes to Queensboro Community College. I think he still goes there to this day, or did he graduate or dropped out? I don't exactly remember. But that friend I'm talking about, he goes by the name of Zay Hendricks, if anyone knows him. But shout out to him, since I mentioned his name. But yeah, this route would be super convenient for him, so that way, he wouldn't have to transfer to he wouldn't have to walk all the way up to the Q88. The Horace Harding Expressway is the service road for the Long Island Expressway. So yeah, it's not actually operating on the highway. Alright, next route is the Q75, which is another route which is going to operate from Queensboro Community College, and it's going to go to Jamaica. And it's going to only operate on weekdays. Huh. Oh, so basically how I see it is, it's basically a duplicated version of the Q30. It's basically the Q30 2.0, but except it doesn't go to Little Neck. Which, okay, I find that to be a bit strange because Because there was a proposal where I think it was this one. Was it this one? I think it was. Okay, it was this one, but except it wasn't like entirely. But basically, they had the Q75 go via 188th Street to go to here, Queensboro Community College, and basically, they kind of technically did restore the old Q75, the one that was cut in 2010, because that Q75 actually used to operate on 188th Street, used to operate on Hillside, 188th Street, 73rd Avenue, and Springfield, and also 69th Street in Oakland Gardens. Oh yeah, here's the Q76. Now this is a route that I said that I wanted to talk about. So the Q76, but wow, surprisingly enough, it's actually getting service improvements on Sundays. Surprisingly. So the Q76, when the OAGM, you have a lot of angry college students. Oh, believe me, trust me. A lot of angry college students from QCC. So the Q76, I know, is known for not being a frequent line, because I know the Q76 can have a bit of bad service. And believe me, I almost got stranded by the Q76 one time. But luckily, that bus actually stopped and waited for me that one time. But yeah, if there's one thing I like, what they did with the Q76, is that the Q76 will now officially serve 14th Avenue in College Point. And honestly, this is really good for the Q76 because it's basically serving 20th Avenue that's basically being served by the Q20A. Like, having it run via 14th Avenue to replace the Q20B, and especially the fact that 14th Avenue is going to have bus service for all 7 days of the week, is going to make it more convenient for them, you know? But I know the Q76 serves some pretty big shopping areas over here, but hey, what can you do? At this point, just transfer over to the Q20 if that's a problem or anything. I don't even know at this point. The BX40 and BX42 is the same problem. Man, I forgot about those routes. Here's the Q77, and this is a really good one. This is a really good proposal. For one thing, this is a proposal which I've wanted to see for a long time now for the Q77. The Q77 is going to be extended further down Springfield Boulevard down to 147th Avenue, and it's going to make its last stop at JFK Depot. Yep. This over here in Springfield Gardens is JFK Bus Depot. And for those wondering, no, the Q77 is not going to go to JFK Depot because it can't, because it's a New York City Transit route. And, you know, the closest bus depot that the Q77 operates near is Jamaica Depot. MTA can do better. I know, right? Some proposals that the MTA has done is pretty stupid, and I know they've been known for doing notorious decisions, like notorious things, you know. Now here's the Q80. Now here it has service expansion. The reason why it says like existing proposed is because this is basically a replica of the Q10, and I'm not gonna lie, this is actually pretty weird. So the thing is about the Q80, I like how it's literally gonna make limited stops. It's basically a rip-off copy of the Q10 Limited. But except I don't even know at this point. Cause I don't know, if Q10 and Q80 are just something like, it's either they make all local stops or all limited stops. Like, it is so confusing. See, I knew I wasn't alone. Because I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the MTA shouldn't have had this Q80 variant in the first place. Is Union Turnpike gonna be a next transit hub? I mean, Kew Gardens is technically basically a transit hub because a lot of bus routes, serve that area, like Q10, Q37, Q46, Q60, and I apologize for that. I was disrupted, but anyways, but I don't understand what the MTA was thinking when it came to the Q80. Honestly, because honestly, at this point, they should have left the Q. They should have left the Q10 as is. You know what I mean? So that way, it wouldn't be much more confusing. Now here's the Q82, which is a new proposed route, and I actually do support this route. I actually like it. So here is this is the Q82. This is going to replace part of the Q36, the old Q36 route, which went on 212 and 212 Street and 212 Place, and also part of the Q110 along Hempstead Avenue, and from there it would go to UBS Arena at Belmont Park, basically. And I actually like this, and we all know for a fact it's definitely being based out of Queens Village. The Q23 does not serve Kew Gardens, by the way. It was proposed to, but now it's not going to. Thank God it's not. Here's the Q83. Got some slight service changes. So the Q83 is mostly going to stay the same, but except if there's one thing, the Q83 will no longer serve Queens Village LRR station. Now, the reason why the Q83 used to go to Queens Village is because, mind you, it only operated during the overnights, where basically it would help out the Q27 during the overnights, basically. But honestly, I'm glad that they're getting rid of the Q83 bus service to Queens Village LRR station, because honestly, I feel like it didn't have a purpose, like especially at that time of day. You're better off transferring to the Q27 at that point. But other than that, Q83 is fine as is. Here's the Q84. Oh boy, it's getting some slight service reductions. But no major changes other than having a rush section on Archer Avenue and Merrick Boulevard. What? Probably add more service to UBS Arena on match days. Yeah, I could see them adding more service. Oh, you want the Q83 extended to Queens Village at all times except late nights? Honestly, I don't think that would work out that good in my opinion. Close to Nassau County, so it's. I wish they have Q23 and 29 for service. Well, we did review the Q23 and Q29 already, so I'm not going back now. Here's the Q85. It has service reductions, and you'll find out why. So as you can see here, the Q85, is going to be a rush route on Merrick Boulevard, Arch Avenue, and it's going to serve Rosedale full time now. It's no longer going to go to Green Acres Mall because that's going to be replaced by a new route called the Q89. Here's the Q86, and the Q86 is going to replace the Q5. It's going to replace the Q5 entirely, like the Rosedale section, but except it's going to make it even better. So it's basically going to serve the Q85, but except it's going to go even further down. It's going to go down to 149th Avenue. It's basically going to serve the first and last stop for the X63. And if there's one thing I've always wondered about the X63, I've always wondered, why does the X63 make its first and last stop at an elementary school out of all places? But hey, since the Q86 is going to serve that elementary school now, where the X63 serves, it's going to be really helpful for parents to drop their kids to and from school, and even for teachers and school staff to get there easily. So that's a good thing. MTAs, yeah, basically, with all these new routes being added on Merrick Boulevard is going to be a pretty busy bus corridor now. Oh boy. Well, talk about, here's another Merrick route, another new Merrick route, the Q87. And this is going to be the replacement route. This is going to be the replacement route for the Q5 service to Green Acres Mall, as you can see here. But nothing much has changed. It's going to be weekdays only. Q86 is going to operate all 7 days of the week. Here's the Q88. Oh, service is not going to change that much. Do you think Brooklyn and Staten Island will be next? Well, the Brooklyn redesign is currently going on right now in Brooklyn. They have yet to release another draft proposal, but they did release one back in 2022. Unfortunately, on the day my good friend Kayvon Wooden passed away. May he rest in peace. But anyways, moving on from him, here's the Q88. It's gonna be limited. I mean, it's gonna be faster now. I mean, it's already a fast route. But if there's one thing I noticed, the Q88 is gonna be slightly rerouted. It's gonna, so instead of taking the Horace Harding Expressway straight down to 94th Street to get to 57th Avenue, it's now gonna turn onto Junction Boulevard to get onto 57th Avenue. Like, what? And apparently they claim this is gonna improve operations. Like, what, speed? Like, the Q88 has absolutely no issues taking that turn. Like, I don't get why they're rerouting it on Junction Boulevard, honestly. Like, having it operate further more on Junction. Like, it doesn't make sense in my opinion. But oh well. Yeah, exactly, the Q72 is there. Like, that's hardly gonna do anything for the Q72. And here's the Q89. And this over here, the Q89, this is the replacement route for all Q85 bus service to Green Acres Mall, as you can see here. This is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Merrick Boulevard is going to have a total of 7 bus routes. 7 local bus routes. Well, and you also have, well, you can make that 9 routes. Well, actually, let's see, how many routes does Merrick Boulevard, this have? So let's see, they have the Q4, Q5, Q84, Q85, Q86, Q87, Q89. Yep, that's 7 routes in total. But on top of that, you also have the N4 and N4X from Nice Bus. And I think you also have the QM63 and the QM65. So that's, oh my god, that's 11 routes in total. Well, from both MT and Nice. Oh, finally. Now here's a route that honestly really interested me. Yeah, Merrick Boulevard does have bus lanes, but it should be able to handle the amount of bus routes that that Merrick has. I mean, it's basically the same service levels, but except it's being done by new routes, so it shouldn't be that bad. But here's the Q90, and this is the replacement route for the original Q48, which operated from Flushing to LaGuardia Airport. And I'm not gonna lie, I surprisingly like this routing. And let me explain my reason. Well, for one thing, if there's one thing I don't like about it, it's the fact that, unfortunately, if you want to get to Terminal A from LaGuardia, Flushing, you can no longer take the Q48 there. You're gonna have to either transfer to the M60 SBS, or you're gonna have to transfer to one of the free shuttles over there. If anything, I suggest doing the shuttles. But if there's one thing I like, at least it's not going to serve 108th Street anymore, because that street was pretty problematic. And it's going to serve Seaver Way. And Seaver Way is a street that's currently being redeveloped as part of, the Woods Point project. Because over here is Woods Point. Over here is Woods Point, as you can see over here. Here's City Field, and we have some other famous landmarks here in Queens, like, you know, of course you have Flushing Meadows, Corona Park, Queens Zoo. And for us transit fans, here's Casey's Dangle Depot and the Corona Subway Yard, home of the 7 train. And let's not forget about City Field, home of the Mets. Let's go Mets. Even though I don't be watching baseball like that, so but what are my opinions on the Mets? I don't know, I don't really have a preference. But anyways, let's not get too carried away with baseball. I mean, City Field has always had bus service because the Q48 would always go along Roosevelt Avenue, only between 108th Street and Main Street. And honestly, you actually just brought up a good point. And honestly, I'm very happy that the Q90 is serving Seaver Way because it's going to be serving a brand new upcoming football stadium in Queens. And this being Etihad Park. Yeah, Etihad Park. Did I say it right? Yeah, Etihad Park. And I know for a fact that, bro, in this part of Queens right here, like Corona, Flushing, like basically like almost all of northern Queens, there's very huge soccer fans out here. Or should I say football? Yeah, I'm slowly starting to get into, like, you know, traditional soccer, like, you know, like, yeah, soccer basically. And because of this, you know, the Q90 is going to serve at the Out Park. And I'm not going to lie, I actually like that idea. They need to run more bus services on football matches days, probably. Arctics. Maybe. Honestly, I don't know how that's going to work out, but yeah. You know, honestly, it's great that, you know, that you know, they're redeveloping the entirety of Willits Points, because Willits Points has just been deteriorating for years, and it's not getting any better. I mean, well, it's getting better now, of course. But yeah, it's good to finally see bus service on Seaver Way. Because I know the Q19 and Q66 stop right by it. Oh, they stop at 126th Street, 126th Place. But, however, and also 127th Place, but this is only heading in the Flushing direction. They don't stop here when they head towards either Astoria or Long Island City, or Woodside. But yeah, the Q90, I like the Q90 proposal. That's one thing I'm also looking forward to, especially, you know, when the new stadium is officially built and opened. Can't wait to see that, though. Here's the Q98. So this here is the Q98. This is one of my favorite routes as part of this redesign, because this is basically the Q58 Super Express, what I like to call. Because why I call it Super Express is because for one thing, the Q98 does not serve Corona Avenue, because Corona Avenue gets pretty congested. Because as a person who used to live right next to Corona Avenue, right by the Q58, it gets pretty congested in that area, like almost all the time. And I'm glad they're having it go via Horace Harding to get to Flushing, because, you know, it's going to make it faster. And the best part is, it's going to serve Queens Center Mall. So now people from Queens Center Mall, because now that way, people who are trying to get from Queens Center Mall to Flushing, they now have an easier way. Or should I say it the other way around? So honestly, I think the Q98 would definitely be a great route for the MTA. And see, here's all the express stops. Yeah, see, it's gonna make a stop at Queens Center Mall. So yeah, you don't even have to worry. Yep, it's gonna stop there, so yeah. Here's the Q100, and thank God this route was restored, because in this redesign, because I know for a fact a lot of people dislike routes like the Q105. But yeah, the Q100 is good to stay. And that's a good thing, that they're keeping the Q100. I don't like the Q105. Like, what the hell were they thinking? Here's the Q101, and apparently they changed up the Q101 a bit. Well, obviously it's gonna still serve Steinway, of course, Steinway Street, because that's a pretty important street. But I love Steinway Street. You know, a lot of good food places. I personally recommend going to Steinway Street for like good food places and all that kind of stuff. That's just me though. And yes, they in fact did nuke the Manhattan routing. It's no longer gonna go to Manhattan. But this isn't the first time they proposed anything like this. They also proposed it to, not serve Manhattan anymore. But it's gonna go further down Jackson Avenue, and it's gonna serve basically where the Q103 once used to serve, like that one park down there. Honestly, I don't know how that's gonna play out, if I have to be real here. And here's the Q102, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't really like what they did with the Q102, if I have to be real here, because, dude, they just completely shortened the Q102. It's gonna stop serving this part of Roosevelt Island, like literally the little bottom of Roosevelt Island. It's no longer gonna serve Vernon Boulevard, no longer gonna serve 40th, well, no longer gonna serve 21st Street, no longer gonna serve that part of Queens Plaza. It's no longer gonna serve that northern tip of Astoria, and it's no longer gonna serve a huge chunk of 31st Street. This is actually bad. And they're gonna have the damn thing stop at Court Square? Like, what the hell? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Out of all the proposals I've seen all day, this is actually bad. This is by far one of the worst proposals I've ever seen so far. And of course it had to be the Q102, because, man, why do I feel like it's always the Q102 that has to get screwed over? Whether it's actually in real life, or in a redesign. Ay, ay, ay. They should have kept it from us. They should keep the full Q102, because, like, and here's the Q103, and this is a route which many people had their doubts on, because the Q103, not a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people do ride the Q103, but a lot of people don't really realize that. But the Q103, I actually like this. It's going to serve 21st Street, 44th Drive, and that area. So it's not too bad for the Q103. And the Q104. But hey, Q104 is going to stay the same, which is good. Alright guys, so once we get, by the way, I realize how late it is. I realize that we're not going to make it in time to do the express routes. But we'll save that for another stream. So consider this to be leg 1 of me reviewing all the routes of the Queens Bus redesign, because I didn't realize it would take this long. I thought it was going to take 2 hours, but for those who managed to stay this long, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I know it may have sounded boring, which, believe me, I know it may have sounded boring, but I'm glad you guys decided to still stick along, and I can't thank you enough. So this is the Q104, once again. No changes, no major changes, which is good. It should be left how it is. Here's the Q110, on the other hand. So the Q110, believe it or not, was originally going to be proposed to be extended to Floral Park, the Long Island Railroad Station. But because apparently people in Floral Park don't like big city buses going down their streets, the Q110 will now make its last stop at 257th Street in Floral Park. And it's going to go along Jericho Turnpike. And it will no longer serve the UBS Arena, unfortunately. It will no longer serve Belmont Park. And it will also no longer do those trips to and out of Jamaica 179th Street stations, unfortunately. But, I mean, it is what it is. Here's the Q111, which is getting major service reductions. It's pretty much the same overall, though. Maybe Q110 trips to UBS Arena during match days. I could see that as potential. Here's the Q112, which is getting a big service, which is getting a major change. This was mentioned earlier when I was talking about the Q7, but the Q112, as you can see here, is being extended to Euclid Avenue Station in East New York. East New York Euclid Avenue Station, replacing the Q7 routing, which honestly, this is really good. Q113 has been reinstated, which is good. And the Q114, same route and everything. Oh, one more route. This is the final route that we're going to review for tonight, and I'm calling all quits because I got to go to bed. I know y'all got to go to bed, and I don't want to steal any more of your time, so I do apologize. So this is the Q115, our final route of the day. And it's basically going to make all local stops along Guy Brewer Boulevard between Jamaica, Parsons Boulevard, and Farmers Boulevard. I mean, I guess it's okay, but I don't know how it's gonna turn out. Oh, fuck the Brooklyn routes. We're not even gonna. I don't even have time to review all this. But, man, I gotta go to bed, so. And I know y'all gotta go to bed too, so. I'll see you guys in another stream, because in another stream I'm gonna review all the express routes. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this entire stream. I know it was long, and this is actually the longest stream I've done in a long while. Nearly 3 hours of streaming. Jesus Christ. But yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching the stream. This is MT Best Trends Fan here, signing off. And thank you guys so much for watching the stream. I'm out.